What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
1WS. Chapter 01 Ultimate Sage Body. Reiatsu multiplied 10,000 times. Advertise here. West Rukongai. Laifu Mountain is located at the north end of the third block. Finally here, the sign in location for the first novice mission. On a hillside covered with green vegetation. Tall and handsome, Bai Chen was dressed in a grey haori, with an expectant expression on his face. As a traverser, about 3 months ago, due to an accident, Bai Chen accidentally traveled to the world of Shinigami. And also awakened a character template system called God-level Senju Hashirama. The function of the system is simple. You only need to sign in at the designated place to unlock the progress of the template and obtain the enhanced skills of the God-level Senju Hashirama. At first, knowing that he has opened a cheat, Bai Chen is very emotional. After all, he is just an ordinary soul. Weak spiritual power, no background. Under such circumstances, it is not easy to survive in Rukongai, which is full of danger and turmoil. And with cheat, there is a chance for heaven-defying to change your life. The most important is, cheat's template character is actually Senju Hashirama, the recognized ninja god in the Hokage world. And it's a god-level enhanced version. So, in order to become stronger immediately, from the moment the system was awakened, Bai Chen traveled all the way. It took a full 3 months. Finally arrived at the sign in location for the novice task, Laifu Mountain at the foot. And next, he's about to sign in soon. Ding. Congratulations to the host, you have successfully arrived at the sign in location, and the sign in will officially begin. The sign in time is 5 seconds, if you quit halfway, it will be considered a sign in failure. ... Hear the system beep. Bai Chen took a deep breath and was already mentally prepared. 5 seconds. 3 seconds. 1 second. As the countdown ends. The system beep sounded again. Ding. Congratulations to host, the sign in is successful. Sign in reward. Ultimate Sage Body, 10,000 times Reiatsu increase. The notification tone fell for a moment. Bai Chen's eyes widened in surprise. Did you hear me right? Ultimate Sage Body. Reiatsu multiplied by 10,000. But he hadn't had time to be happy. Boom. As the beep says. The spiritual power in the body, which was originally weak, was multiplied 10,000 times in an instant, and transformed at an astonishing speed. Just in the blink of an eye. The spiritual power after the surge is fierce and surging. Like a vast ocean, it surged out from Bai Chen's body in an instant, rushing towards the surroundings continuously. At the same time, on the ground of Laifu Mountain, a huge wave of smoke and dust was set off, causing the air to roar and vibrate. So strong. The spiritual power in the body, which was weak at first, instantly soared to an extremely terrifying level after being multiplied by 10,000 times. Whole body, shrouded in the blue Reiatsu beam of light. Bai Chen was majestic, and the gray feathers on his body fluttered. He can intuitively feel, because of the awakening of the ultimate sage body, his spiritual body has been reborn. In addition to the 10,000-fold increase in Reiatsu. The vitality, cell activity, and spiritual power flow in the body have all been qualitatively improved and transformed. This is an exaggeration, if we say that the previous Bai Chen was just an ordinary soul. So, he who has the ultimate sage body, regardless of talent or Reiatsu, he became the top in one fell swoop. Far better than the innate blood of any noble. To know, in the Shinigami world, everything is made of spirit particles. And the density of the spirit, Reiatsu's strength is decided again. Now, awakened Bai Chen of ultimate sage body, the strength and quality of his Reiatsu, almost to the unrivaled ultimate. It's just that the power has just been acquired, and it is emitted unconsciously. Even the earth and the air couldn't bear his momentum. So, what if it goes all out to free Reiatsu? This thought flashed in his mind. Bai Chen immediately held his breath, and released all Reiatsu in one breath. The next moment, boom, the spirit exploded. The earth shakes and the mountains shake. Driven by Bai Chen's idea, the horror Reiatsu, which was several times more exaggerated than before, almost reached the point of substance. It directly blasted through the surrounding air. Not only that. After the Reiatsu spillover, the blue Reiatsu beam of light that shrouded his body before gained the blessing of multiplying spiritual power, and its volume and scale also rapidly expanded. The huge Reiatsu beam of light, soaring into the sky. And it was also accompanied by the terrifying Reiatsu storm that made the entire Mount Koifushi shake violently and non-stop. It is Bai Chen's existing strength. And Zeon momentum powerful enough to change the color of the world. Ultimate spiritual power and Reiatsu. The vitality and talent potential of the spirit body are directly full. This is just the first time to complete the sign in task. Flying black bangs. The corner of Bai Chen's mouth curled up in a satisfied arc. The reward for signing into the task brought him enough surprises. Therefore, Bai Chen looks forward to it even more. In the subsequent sign-in process, which abilities of the god-level Senju Hashirama will be unlocked. Chapter 02 Is this a natural disaster? Advertise here. At the same time, just when Bai Chen was still immersed in the joy of his power surge. What he didn't know was that, Due to the full release of Reiatsu just now, the commotion was too great. Immediately, it caused panic on a large scale in the nearby blocks. What happened? Over Laifu Mountain, what happened? This Reiatsu is too terrifying. It can actually cause an earthquake in the entire block. At this time, not far from Laifu Mountain, on the street of the third block. In a brightly lit courtyard, intermittent exclamations rang out because of his unstable standing. Green turban, dark complexion. One of the most famous gangsters in all of West Rukongai. The Shiba Griffin, who should have been accustomed to the wind and waves. At this time, with a panicked expression on his face. With his body staggering from side to side, he looked in the direction of Mount Kobushi. It is not difficult to see from the pale face. At this time, Shiba Ganju was obviously frightened. Although Laifu Mountain is not far from here. But, just relying on Reiatsu, it can spread to the entire block and cause a large area of destruction. Brother Kaien, I'm afraid you can't do such an exaggerated thing, right? As soon as Shiba Griffin finished speaking. Beside him, the eldest sister Shiba Kuzuru, who was hot and wearing a tight red apron, said with a complicated expression. Finished speaking, Shiba Kuzuru looked down. At this time, under the influence of high-frequency vibrations, the old wooden floor in the house has completely shattered. A lot of sawdust flying across. The severely damaged foundation was exposed. Not only that, in addition to the ground, the chandelier on the ceiling and the furnishings on the table also swayed and fell. Obviously, everything that exists in the house. No, to be precise, it should be the entire third block. All because of the transcendent Reiatsu that erupted from Mt. Koifushi, it was severely damaged like never before. Yes, Kong, you are right. Even if I go all out to release Reiatsu, at most it can only cause a small-scale impact in Laifu Mountain. It is impossible to reach such an exaggerated level. In front of Shiba Ganju and Shiba Kuzuru. Became a Shinigami early on. And in a high position, Shiba Kaien, who was the vice captain of the 13th squad, admitted frankly with a frown. Yes, this courtyard looks ordinary. It was one of the 5 great nobles in the past, but now it has been in decline for many years, the residence of the 3 brothers and sisters of the Shiba family. Original. For Shiba Kaien, today is the monthly holiday. Rare leisure time. Shiba Kaien, who has always been emotional, naturally took time out of his busy schedule. Returned to Rukongai to catch up with your 2 sisters and brother. Unexpectedly, not long after he returned home, he encountered the current accident. Faced with such a strange situation, Shiba Kaien's first reaction was subconsciously thinking, could it be a natural disaster happened on Laifu Mountain? Yes, in the eyes of the well-known genius of the Soul Society. To be able to erupt such an exaggerated terrifying power in a short moment. In addition to using natural disasters to explain. Shiba Kaien really can't think of any other more reasonable reason. Ah, natural disaster. Shiba Griffin was stunned, subconsciously shook his head and denied, in the past so many years, I seem to have never heard that there will be a natural disaster in Rukongai. So, Griffin, do you think it's man-made? Shiba Kaien's expression became more serious. To know, he's the Shinigami vice captain. Among the whole Gotei 13, one of the big figures with head and face. Leaving aside the other Shinigami captains, Shiba Kaien's own Reiatsu alone is strong enough. But even so, when feeling the transcendent Reiatsu exuded by Bai Chen. Stronger than Shiba Kaien, he himself has the strength of the captain level. Will still be like my brother and sister, full of anxiety in my heart. Shiba Kaien even believes that, based on his knowledge of the strength of the Shinigami captains. Looking at the entire Gotei 13, I am afraid that apart from the general captain, who is recognized as the strongest Shinigami in the millennium. Others, even centennial captains like Unohana Retsu, Hiraku Shunsui, etc., even if they go all out to unleash Reiatsu. It is absolutely impossible to do the same thing. So, if Shiba Ganju remembers correctly, this horror Reiatsu that cannot be explained by common sense. It is not a so-called natural disaster, but a man-made release. Doesn't it mean, on the other side of Laifu Mountain, a strong man who is not inferior to the captain in terms of Reiatsu and spiritual power unexpectedly appeared out of thin air? Hiss. Thinking of this, Rao is Shiba Kaien's character. No matter how calm he is, he can't help but take a breath, his heart is extremely shocked. Unknowingly, I didn't even notice it myself. The back of Siba's clothes is actually covered with beads of sweat. Obviously, for the mysterious and powerful enemy whose identity is unknown. Shiba Kaien felt deep anxiety and worry from the bottom of his heart. Brother Kaien, what should we do now? Can we just do nothing and let this continue? Resisting the dizziness caused by the high-frequency oscillation. Shiba Kuzuru asked hesitantly, how long has it been? The house has been destroyed like this. If the terror Reiatsu hadn't gone away and the earthquakes had been going on and on. I'm afraid it won't be long. The entire third block will be completely reduced to ruins. Feeling my sister's uneasiness, and in order to carry out the duties due as the Shinigami vice captain. After thinking for a moment, Shiba Kaien quickly made a decision. Kong, Ganju, let's go. Let's go to Laifu Mountain together to find the source of that abnormal Reiatsu. Chapter 03 Shiba Kaien's invitation. Advertise here. Not long after, when the three Shiba Kaien brothers and sisters rushed to Laifu Mountain. Soon they saw the scene that made their eyes tear open. Look around. Almost the entire hill, where the sight can touch, no vegetation can be seen anymore. There are only traces of destruction everywhere. And a huge deep pit that looks like a meteorite fell from the sky. How can this be? The whole hill has become bare. This is not the Laifu Mountain I know at all. Stop. After a nervous glance, Shiba Griffin's scalp tingled instantly, and he couldn't help swallowing in horror. If it weren't for the remaining half of the mountain. He even once wondered if he came to the wrong place. This is too exaggerated. That giant deep pit is almost breaking through the entire mountain range. It's really unimaginable that Laifu Mountain will almost be razed to the ground one day. Shiba Kuzuru was dumbfounded. The scene of destruction in front of her completely overturned her three views. To know, there are as many as 80 blocks in West Rukongai. Among such a large number of blocks, the third block is famous because of the existence of Laifu Mountain. The unique mountain scenery here has been longed for by many souls. It is also one of the few tourist attractions worth punching in throughout Rukongai. But now, because of that terrifying Reiatsu, Carp Mountain disappeared immediately, nearly razed to the ground. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, no matter what Shiba Kong could not have imagined, it would be such an outrageous result. But, just when the siblings couldn't help but exclaim because they were too shocked. Led Shiba Kaien, from beginning to end, but always silent. His dark eyes widened desperately. Shiba Kaien staring intently. Stare at that huge bottomless pit. In the depths of his eyes, there was even a flickering, strong look of fear. That is because, by sight distance, and powerful Reiatsu perception. After arriving at Laifu Mountain, Shiba Kaien immediately discovered Bai Chen at the bottom of the deep pit. Impossible. The source of the terrifying Reiatsu that almost destroyed the entire Mount Koibushi is actually a boy. Shiba Kaien shocked. Deep in my heart, I was extremely shocked. Due to a certain distance, he could only vaguely observe Bai Chen's appearance, it was a young face. That is why, Shiba Kaien will feel even more incredible. As we all know, the history of Soul Society, ancient and long. In the past thousands of years, countless geniuses have been born. And Shiba Kaien himself is one of them. But, Shiba Kaien clearly remembers. Even back then, when he signed up to enroll in the Junyang Academy of Spiritual Art and took a spiritual power test. 6th class spiritual power, already caused a sensation at the time. As soon as he was admitted to the hospital, he was regarded as a super genius and became the focus of everyone's attention. But now, looking at the scene of destruction in front of him. And the phenomenon that even after Reiatsu gradually dissipates, it still causes air disorder. Shiba Kaien has to admit, the young man in front of him who has never met before is far more than 100 times stronger in spiritual power than he was back then. Even the recognized, the once-in-a-century genius, Ichimaru Jin. In front of such a devastating Reiatsu, the aura of genius is destined to be eclipsed. At the same time, just when Shiba Kaien was shocked. Just now, Bai Chen, who has been busy adapting to his existing Reiatsu intensity, slowly opened his eyes. Quote ? Quote. Is it because there is no deliberate control that all the vegetation and woods on the hill were destroyed by Ultimate's Reiatsu? The moment you open your eyes, after seeing the devastated scenes all around. Bai Chen was stunned. After being stunned for a moment. Feeling embarrassed, he touched the back of his head. He didn't mean to be sabotage. Simply because after awakening the ultimate sage body, the spiritual power is too powerful. So it causes everything around. Unable to withstand his Reiatsu, resulting in destruction and disappearance. But, before Bai Chen had time to think too much. Not far away, on the edge of the deep pit, came the voice of Shiba Kaien asking. This little brother, excuse me, what's your name? Besides, you caused the commotion just now, right? A sudden sound. Bai Chen frowned instantly. When he turned his head to look at the source of the sound, he didn't know when. Shiba Kaien has appeared not far in front of him. With vigilant and examining eyes. Constantly go up and down to inquire about myself. Are you, Shiba Kaien? The four eyes are facing each other. Just glanced at it. Bai Chen recognized Shiba Kaien immediately and couldn't help being surprised. But, considering that this is Mount Koibushi. In the original plot, Shiba Kaien practiced when he was still in Rukongai. Bai Chen quickly calmed down. At the same time, he met the other party's eyes and replied calmly. Bai Chen, only. What surprised Bai Chen was. Obviously it was the first time we met, and I just said my name. Next second, Shiba Kaien actually invited him directly. Bai Chen, are you interested in joining Gote 13? Chapter 04 The second check-in, Strange Force. Advertise here. Bai Chen, are you interested in joining Gote 13? Contrary to Bai Chen's expectations. Obviously the two sides are meeting for the first time. And he just said his name. Shiba Kaien actually didn't agree with each other and sent out an invitation. Of course, it's not just Bai Chen alone. Also surprised. There are also Shiba Empty Cranes and Shiba Rock Eagles standing in the distance. What? Did you hear me right? Brother Kaien just sent out an invitation to join the team. That's not like his character. Shiba Griffin was stunned. Some didn't quite believe it, and shook their heads vigorously. Based on his understanding of his elder brother. Although at a young age, he became a well-known genius early on. But, because he shoulders the important task of recasting the glory of Shiba nobles. So after graduating from the academy and joining Gotei 13. Over the years, Shiba Kaien has been doing his job. Before every action, you must think carefully. Never do anything against the rules of the team. That's why, the reason why Shiba Ganju will be surprised. I didn't expect, the elder brother who has always been mature and stable. They would change their previous style and invite him to join the team after only knowing Bai Chen's name. This made Shiba Ganju feel subconsciously. Is the eldest brother a little too impatient? But, his side, Shiba Kong has a calm face. With a tone of approval, the corners of his mouth slightly grinned. Gantu. You still don't understand. This boy named Bai Chen is obviously not an ordinary soul. Just the super Reiatsu on him is obviously much stronger than Big Brother Kaien. The most important thing is that he is not false and travel disaster. Therefore, when the other party does not show obvious hostility, it is naturally better to actively win over than to have a conflict. Compared with the younger brother who is 5 big and 3 thick. Although he has a bold personality, he usually looks carefree. But Shiba Konghei's thoughts are obviously more delicate. She guessed her big brother's inner thoughts in an instant. It turns out that the Tathagata heard that. Shiba Griffin suddenly realized, in the situation of non-enemy, Bai Chen is really worth trying to win over at all costs just because of his exaggerated Reiatsu. Only, will he really say yes? Shiba Ganju couldn't help feeling suspicious. Although the captain-level Shinigami has the right to take the initiative to invite into the team. But, that is based on the premise that the person invited is a graduate student. Besides, any soul who wants to become a Shinigami. Unless you have the blood of the 4 nobles. Otherwise, without exception, you must enter the Spiritual Arts Academy to practice. Only during the 6-year period. Complete all the courses of slashing the fist and walking ghosts, according to the regulations, and participate in the soul burial practice, and pass the assessment. Will be allowed to graduate. A real right to join Gotei 13. And that's why Shiba Ganju will be suspicious. After all, not everyone in this world aspires to be a Shinigami. Some people yearn for freedom by nature and don't want to be restrained too much. Like their 2 siblings, is the best example. And by first impression. Shiba Ganju's subconscious judgment, there is a high probability that Bai Chen will be such a person. If not, a genius monster with the ultimate Reiatsu talent. In the past few years, how could it have been unknown? It must be Bai Chen's low-key personality. While keen on freedom, he is also unwilling to be bound by team rules and regulations. That's why it was at this time that he revealed his true strength for the first time, right? In fact, Shiba Ganju really guessed it right. Facing Shiba Kaien's invitation, Bai Chen's first reaction was subconsciously wanting to refuse. After all, he has awakened cheat character template system with God-level Senju Hashirama. In the days to come, as long as you are in the place designated by the system, punch in and sign in. You can keep getting stronger. Awaken and master more powerful God-level abilities. Therefore, for Bai Chen, becoming a Shinigami, joining Gotei 13, doesn't have much appeal. On the contrary, it will bring more unnecessary constraints and restrictions. He prefers to move freely. But, just when Bai Chen was about to reject Shiba Kaien. Without warning, the system's notification sound suddenly sounded again. Ding. New check-in task released. No time limit, please go to Shiba's house to check in. After completing the sign-in, you will receive a special reward, strange power. After hearing the beep, Bai Chen's eyes lit up instantly. The words of refusal that had just reached his throat were all swallowed back into his stomach. At the same time, he secretly laughed and said, "It seems. In order to check in at Shiba's house, get rewards. This time I must agree." Chapter 05 Perfect Reiatsu Control. Advertise here. Strange Force. One of Senju Hashirama's innate powerful abilities. This trick gave him the ability to precisely control chakra. Make Senju Hashirama able to concentrate chakra on the whole body, first cover the body surface with blue-purple chakra. Then a powerful airflow burst out from the air. As a result, the surrounding environment is easily collapsed and destroyed. That is why, after hearing the system prompt, Bai Chen immediately changed his mind and agreed to Shiba Kaien's invitation. Because, although the ultimate sage body has been awakened, make the spirit body reborn, and possess the ultimate powerful spiritual power. But, for such a force that is too large, Bai Chen hadn't been able to control it perfectly for a while. Can't do what I want, control the Reiatsu outbreak in the body. That's why, at the moment when his strength soared, Crucian Fushan, as well as the third block, will suffer serious damage. After all, or because Bai Chen's Reiatsu is too strong. Even if it is only slightly spilled out, it has a terrifying and destructive power comparable to natural disasters. But, as long as you sign in successfully, you will get the new skill of weird power. Bai Chen can be like Senju Hashirama. Precisely control the Reiatsu in the body, retract and release freely. At the same time, can also do whatever you want. Attach powerful spiritual power to any part of the body, limbs, etc., so that the power of white hits is instantly full. Of course, the premise of smooth check-in and sign-in. The first thing to do is to bring Bai Chen back to Shiba's house as a guest. Not long after, under the leadership of the 3 Shiba brothers and sisters, Bai Chen came to their residence and checked in as he wished. Ding! Congratulations to the host, you have successfully arrived at the sign-in location, and the sign-in will officially begin. The sign-in time is 5 seconds, and if you quit halfway, it will be considered a failure. Compared with the first check-in, everything is no different, so Bai Chen has already made mental preparations. Quickly, after the countdown ends, a prompt sounded on behalf of the successful sign-in of the system. Ding! Congratulations to host, the sign-in is successful. Sign-in reward. Strange power, spiritual power, perfect control by Reiatsu. The moment the notification tone falls, Bai Chen obviously felt it, an indescribable mysterious feeling constantly wandering around inside his spiritual body. Just for a moment, the originally surging spiritual power of Ultimate is no longer as riotous as before, but completely calmed down. Not only that, Bai Chen even has a strong intuition. Next, he only needs to move his mind, and he can instantly condense Reiatsu, focusing on any parts such as fists and feet. In this way, all the explosive power of Reiatsu is concentrated in one point, and it is instantly increased to the maximum. Call. Sure enough, I didn't live up to my expectations. The reward for signing in for the second time is also very impressive. In a short time, it became stronger again. There was a satisfied smile on the corner of Bai Chen's mouth. Only, sitting across from him, the 3 Shiba brothers and sisters who watched from across the teacup suddenly became weird. Galbi, Kong, is it my illusion? Why do I feel that the gap between making tea? Bai Chen's strength has become stronger again. Shiba Kaien is speechless. The way he looked at Bai Chen seemed to be looking at a monster. Just now, on the way back from Mount Koibushi. Along the way, apart from the constant conversations with Bai Chen and the initiative to show affection, Shiba Kaien also secretly probed and evaluated Bai Chen's strength at close range. The final conclusion is, although Bai Chen's spiritual power is ridiculously strong, but it seems that in a short period of time, there is no proficiency in control. Unexpectedly, it's only been a while since I entered the house. Even the boiling heat on the teacup hasn't dissipated yet. Without warning, Bai Chen himself obviously did nothing, the powerful Reiatsu breath of ultimate in his body. Then it shrank to the point of insignificance in an instant. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. The destruction scene where Mount Koibushi was nearly razed to the ground. Shiba Kaien can definitely be misled. Bai Chen is just a weak soul with no spiritual power. Brother Kaien, you are right. The Reiatsu on Bai Chen's body has indeed almost completely disappeared. I even feel that between him and us, we are no longer in the same pattern. Possessed to Shiba Kaien's side, Shiba Griffin resisted the shock and whispered cautiously. At the same time, glancing out of the corner of the eye. After Bai Chen held the teacup with both hands, he showed a leisurely expression. Shiba Ganju instantly felt extremely envious. Lai Win. Salted fish is everyone's dream, and Bai Chen, just sitting and drinking tea, can easily become stronger. I'm afraid there is nothing happier than this in this world, right? Hee. Instead of marveling at Bai Chen's strength, I can even imagine that once he enters the Spiritual Arts Academy for training, he will break the scene of historical indiscriminate killing. Unlike the Shiba Griffin, when Shiba Kong looked at Bai Chen, he had an expression of appreciation. She can't wait to see her. The entire Spiritual Arts Academy, and indeed the entire Seraiti. Because of Bai Chen's sudden appearance, the moment when everyone was shocked happened. Chapter 06 Participate in the Fall Enrollment. Advertise here. Time flies. In a blink of an eye, 3 days have passed. In these short few days, thanks to the warm hospitality of the 3 Shiba brothers and sisters, the relationship between Bai Chen and them became more and more acquainted. It is no longer a chance meeting, but a real friend. But, as Shiba Kaien's holiday is coming to an end, and the fall enrollment of Spiritual Arts Academy has started. So, in order to fulfill the promise, accompanied by Shiba Kaien, Bai Chen followed him to Seraiti. There are so many people. Seraiti really deserves to be the center of the Soul Society. Compared with Rukongai, it is much more prosperous here. Come to the 4 gates, Beidao Gate. After seeing the crowds of people here, Bai Chen couldn't help but sigh with emotion. That's normal, Shiba Kaien explained with a smile. Because the college is located in the southwest, whenever the enrollment starts in autumn, there will always be such a crowd of people at the Beidaemon side. In general, due to the existence of the Lingling Wall and the guards of the 4 great heroes' guards, ordinary souls are not allowed to break in without permission. But, when it comes to the annual fall enrollment, the Beidao Gate closest to the college will be opened as a special passage for all souls who are preparing to apply for the exam. Therefore, there is also the scene that Bai Chen is seeing now. I see. After all, it's an opportunity to change your destiny. It's understandable that the enrollment is so hot. Bai Chen nodded. In order to steadily send more talents to Gote 13, the door of Spiritual Arts Academy is always open. Or civilians. Aristocrats are also good, regardless of status, regardless of gender. As long as you can pass the assessment test, you can enter the practice. Bai Chen, here it is. The entrance examination test is divided into two parts, a written test and a spiritual power test. This wooden sign can help you avoid the written test. Shiba Kaien said. At the same time, from his pocket, he took out a wooden sign with the team logo of the 13th squad, and the word, Shiba, printed on it. Hey, did you go through the back door in the legend? After receiving the wooden sign, Bai Chen grinned and joked. Actually, the so-called written test, most of the content involved is some basic common sense of soul society. The difficulty is not high, even if it is a big and 3 rough people. As long as you put a little effort into it, you can basically pass the level. But, ridicule is ridicule. As long as it saves time and skips unnecessary steps, Bai Chen is naturally willing to accept it. Okay, it's almost time, so let's part here. In order to rush back to the 13th squad as soon as possible, deal with the numerous team affairs that have accumulated during this period. After finally explaining some precautions, Shiba Kaien left first. Before leaving, he did not forget to tell Bai Chen. After graduation, no matter what, you must choose the 13th squad. I haven't even entered school yet. Did you already arrange things for me in advance? Shiba Kaien really thinks far enough. Looking at the back of the other party who was fading away, Bai Chen shook his head with a dumbfounded smile. But, just as he turned around, prepare to follow the crowd and line up together. Suddenly, ding, new check-in task released. No time limit, please check in at Spiritual Arts Academy. After signing in, you will receive a special reward, Muji Heal. Contrary to Bai Chen's expectations, the system prompt sounds, and the new check-in task has been released. After hearing the specific reward content, Bai Chen's eyes instantly burst into a strong light. What? You heard me right. It's actually Muji's cure. Surprise. Excited. Bai Chen's mood instantly became excited. As we all know, the flesh of Senju Hashirama, full of powerful vitality. It can automatically recover from injuries without seals. And as his lifelong enemy, Uchiha Madara once said frankly, no one can kill Senju Hashirama in battle. Not only that, in the ninja world, Hashirama cells are extremely sought after. All villains have been transplanted with Hashirama cells to enhance their strength. This is why Bai Chen is excited and looking forward to it. Next, as long as he successfully signs in, he will get the skill reward of Mayan healing. His astral body, all cells in the body. Then you will have a full-level healing ability that has been improved and localized through the God-level template system. The most important is, no need to transplant cells at all. Bai Chen only needs to radiate spiritual power. Under the stimulation of Muji healing ability, his spiritual power can heal all wounds. This is not equivalent to, while possessing the body of immortality, did he also master the full-level Kaido by the way? Simply invincible. Chapter 07. He seems to be a dark horse. Advertise here. And next, as the mood gradually calmed down, Bai Chen walked into the crowd and joined the queue for taking the exam. Fortunately, didn't wait too long. In less than an hour, under the guidance of the college staff, Bai Chen walked into the examination room together with the people in front of him and behind him. But, Bai Chen just walked into the house. Among the waiting crowd, I was pleasantly surprised to find a few familiar faces. This is Hira Izuru, Abarai Renji, and Rukia Kuchiki. At this time, not far in front of Bai Chen, about 10 meters away. These few in the original plot all have the strength of adjutant level, and they are even more important plot characters in the later stage. Affected by the hot atmosphere around him, he couldn't hide his excitement, and started discussing in full swing. The 3 of us should pass the test, right? Under the falling yellow oblique bangs. Hira Izuru's eyes are firm and full of confidence. Obviously, he is determined to pass the entrance test. Is there still a need to ask? As soon as Hira Izuru finished speaking. Beside him, Abarai Renji, who has a red sky-shaking hairstyle, grinned confidently and said, Hira, don't forget the goal we set together when we met halfway. This time, it's not just about passing the assessment. You must also be among the best. Become the most famous top student in this class. Abarai Renji straightened his back and said confidently. Born in South Rukongai, the serial number is almost at the 78th block from the bottom, Inazuri district. Poor law and order, and poor living conditions. It has greatly tempered Abarai Renji's heart and perseverance, and also made him show his extraordinary talent since he was a child. A while ago, in order to become a Shinigami, pursue a better life, Abarai Renji and Rukia Kuchiki, childhood sweethearts, decided to leave Inazuri district. And on the way to Saraiti, I met Kira Izuru, who was about the same age. That's why this scene happened now. You too, it's better to keep a low profile. Don't overturn the car later because of carelessness. Although it is also full of confidence. However, compared to the 2 companions, Rukia Kuchiki is obviously a lot more restrained. Finished speaking, she stood on tiptoe vigorously. With a flat and delicate body, he tried his best to climb up in the crowded crowd, so as to look around the audience. After a few seconds, from left to right, they glanced around. Rukia Kuchiki quickly noticed Bai Chen's existence. Huh, Renji, Kira, look over there. I seem to have found a dark horse by accident. Across the crowd, after observing silently for a while, Rukia Kuchiki was surprised to find Bai Chen obviously didn't do anything. But just standing in the crowd, he stands out from the crowd, with outstanding temperament. The most important is, Bai Chen had a calm expression on his face. He was neither nervous nor looking forward to it, as if in his eyes, the autumn enrollment was highly valued by countless people. It doesn't seem to matter at all. Or, to put it another way, there is no difficulty at all. What? You heard me right, a dark horse. Among this batch of candidates, there are actually some people who are better than us. Abarai Renji frowned. The first reaction is to express doubt. It's not that he is blindly arrogant, but Abarai Renji has been secretly observing since the moment he queued up from Baidaemon. Every candidate they met on the way. The result is obvious. During long-term observation, Abarai Renji did not find any geniuses who are superior in terms of aura and momentum in the huge crowd. Yeah, Renji was right. Although the expression can be faked, the spiritual power cannot be faked. Rukia, the dark horse you mentioned. I haven't finished talking yet. Kira Izuru's expression suddenly changed. He widened his eyes and doubted himself. Hey, something is wrong. Why can't I sense any spiritual fluctuations on that guy? It shouldn't be. Following Rukia Kuchiki's gaze, when Kira Izuru looked at Bai Chen and deliberately probed. Immediately horrified to find, I can't feel any breath. Such a strange situation made him feel unbelievable. To know, no matter how much a person deliberately hides, it is also impossible to completely disappear the spiritual fluctuations in the body. What's more, the candidates present are not even Shinigami. With their current level of subtle control over spiritual power, it is absolutely impossible to block their own breath. This is something that only Captain Shinigami can do. No spiritual power. This is unlikely. Abarai Renji also tried to sense it. Also on Bai Chen, there was no sign of any spiritual fluctuations. So he frowned suspiciously. It shouldn't be. Among the assessments for autumn enrollment, the most important thing is the spiritual power test. If Bai Chen doesn't have spiritual power, then when it comes to the spiritual power test, isn't it for nothing? But after thinking about it for a while, Abarai Renji was soon relieved. Withdrawing his gaze, no longer paying attention to Bai Chen, and self-righteously, he gave a reasonable explanation. Is there a possibility that we overestimated him? Maybe it's not that this guy has no spiritual power in his body, it's just that it's so weak that it can't be ignored. According to Abarai Renji, no one would be so stupid, knowing that the most important thing in the autumn admissions assessment is the spiritual power test. And without any spiritual power, sign up for the admissions assessment brainlessly. Obviously, Bai Chen's strength is very weak. He's just here to try his luck. It's just because of his calmness and indifference. It is because from the very beginning, I knew that there was little hope of passing the assessment, so I didn't have any expectations. At least Abarai Renji thinks so. If that's the explanation, it's quite reasonable. However, no matter what, let's focus on what's in front of us. The written test will start soon. Kira Izuru nodded, and then closed her eyes, no longer paying attention to Bai Chen. Only Rukia Kuchiki, even after hearing Abarai Renji's explanation. Deep down, I still feel that she didn't miss it. The spiritual power is too weak to be ignored. Is this really the case? Women have a sixth sense. Let Rukia Kuchiki have a strong intuition. Later, in the spiritual power test session, Bai Chen will definitely perform amazingly. Chapter 08 Jealous Abarai Renji. Advertise here. Exam entrance. Although I noticed the whispers of Abarai Renji and others, it seemed that I was discussing myself in secret. But Bai Chen doesn't care. I don't intend to take the initiative to get close to them. After all, before coming to Serai, Bai Chen never expected to meet these familiar faces here. Besides, thanks to the wooden plaque presented by Shiba Kaien. Therefore, Bai Chen can directly skip the written test that will be held soon, and be one step ahead of Abarai Renji and the others. But, while Bai Chen was waiting patiently, behind him came a soft female voice that greeted her actively. That, brother, hello, if I'm not mistaken, you should be a nobleman who originally lived in Serai, right? The voice is soft and sweet, with a hint of shyness, making people feel like eating a marshmallow. After hearing the greeting, Bai Chen froze for a moment. There was an instant feeling of strangeness and familiarity in my heart. When he turned around with doubts, just glanced at it, and the expression instantly became extremely exciting. Petite and fair-skinned, big brown eyes, bright and agile, the whole person looks very cute. It turned out to be a peach. Bai Chen was stunned. He never imagined the person who appeared behind him and greeted him proactively. He is also one of the important plot characters. And Hinamori Momo, who was ridiculed as the strongest meat shield. What's wrong? Am I being too abrupt? I'm sorry. He mistook his greeting and accidentally scared Bai Chen. Hinamori Momo quickly apologized. But, close eye contact, looking at Bai Chen's handsome face. And after feeling the outstanding temperament in him, which is completely different from other candidates around him. Taozi, who has a weak personality, can't help but blush. She hurriedly lowered her head in embarrassment, not daring to make eye contact with Bai Chen any longer. No. You misunderstood. I am not noble, but from Rukongai. In order to avoid Peach embarrassment, Bai Chen tactfully changed the topic. At the same time, I couldn't help but sigh with emotion. What happened in the past few minutes? Good guy. He obviously just walked into the examination room not long ago. I met so many familiar faces all at once. If nothing else. For a long time to come, I will inevitably have a lot of interactions with Taozi and the others. Bai Chen suddenly recalled. In the original plot, about 50 years ago. Hinamori Momo, Kira Izuru, Abarai Renji and Rukia Kuchiki. A few of them did apply for the same exam. It's just that Momoko was born in the Junrinan neighborhood, which is very close to Seraiti. So I don't know the others. Really? You are also from Rukongai. Where exactly? Hinamori Momo seemed to have found a common topic, no longer shy, and asked with interest. West Rukongai, the third block. Bai Chen replied. Although not born here, however, since I came to Seraiti for autumn enrollment because I met Shiba Kaien. So there's nothing wrong with answering that. It turned out to be the third block. I have heard and seen a long time ago, the scenery of Liu Mountain is very beautiful. Hinamori Momo's eyes widened. The watery brown eyes revealed sincerity and innocence. Yeah, hearing Dao Zi's words, the corner of Bai Chen's mouth twitched slightly. Immediately recalled a few days ago, after he released Reiatsu with all his strength, the bare and dilapidated scene of Liefushan. He hastily replied, actually, it's okay. I think there are many other places in Rukongai, and the environment is more beautiful than there. Hehe. Simple peaches. How can there be any Carp Mountain? Had Reiatsu not been taken back in time that day, the entire third block would have been leveled. All right. If there is a chance, I still want to visit. Hinamori Momo nodded obediently, and said longingly. That's all. The two lined up, while chatting with each other one after another. They quickly became familiar with each other and knew each other's name. Bai Chen, Hinamori Momo, after introducing each other. Soon came the written test. When it was Bai Chen's turn to enter the arena, he took out the wooden sign on his own initiative. You actually know Master Shiba Kaien. Take the wooden sign. When you recognize the team logo pattern engraved on it, as well as the word, Shiba. The examiner's attitude immediately changed drastically. When looking at Bai Chen again, there was also obvious respect in his eyes. And his words caused a huge commotion in the examination room. Did you hear me right? Shiba Kaien. That's the current vice captain of the Gotei 13th Division. One of the most famous graduates of Spiritual Arts Academy. What the hell is this guy coming from? He actually has Shiba Kaien's identity card. This moment, the entire examination room, all candidates. Even Hinamori Momo, Rukia Kuchiki and others cast envious eyes on Bai Chen without exception. They envy. It's not because the wooden sign can waive the written test. It's this layer of human connection that comes from Shiba Kaien. Although compared to Hueco Mundo, and the present world, Soul Society is a place like heaven. But it's just the surface. In fact, as long as there is popularity, there must be rivers and lakes. Soul Society is no exception. Blocks divided according to serial numbers, and the different identities between nobles and commoners. All of them show that there is a strict hierarchical order here. Therefore, under such premise, having a background and backing is naturally what every soul desires. Not to mention the famous Shinigami vice captain. Of course, not everyone envies. Some of them were both jealous and unconvinced. That includes Abarai Renji, whispering sound. Kira, Rukia. Did I say it right? I guessed it a long time ago. This guy named Bai Chen has no strength in himself, he is just playing around. While talking, Abarai Renji gritted his teeth, clenched his fists angrily, and said with disdain. I just didn't expect him to be so thick-skinned. He even relied on Vice Captain Shinigami to get through the back door. While speaking, Abarai Renji deliberately raised the decibel, making his voice loudly spread throughout the examination room. I'm afraid that other people won't hear the words, go through the back door. But, for his words, childhood sweetheart Rukia Kuchiki has the opposite attitude. Renji, don't say that. The written test is very simple. Almost 100% pass rate. So it's not as serious as going through the back door at all. Even without the wooden sign, Bai Chen would definitely be able to pass through easily. Rukia Kuchiki persuaded objectively. Instead, she thinks that there is nothing to be jealous of because of the worldly way. It's obviously my childhood sweetheart, she's too small. Rukia, you. Being refuted face to face by the person he had a crush on, Abarai Renji had nothing to say. Without any choice, he could only grit his teeth in displeasure. Continue to spread all the grievances on Bai Chen. That's what it says. But even if he passes the written test, that's the end of it. Staring fixedly at Bai Chen's figure. With a firm tone, Abarai Renji said sarcastically. I dare to speak boldly. With the negligibly weak spiritual power in that guy's body, it is absolutely impossible to pass the spiritual power test. Chapter 09 Strength Exposed. Shock the audience. Advertise here. At the same time, since it was already anticipated, The moment he showed the wooden sign, it would inevitably cause a sensation and heated discussions. Therefore, perceptions of others around you. Bai Chen's expression was calm, and he chose to ignore it as always. However, due to the entire examination room, it is divided into two areas. Therefore, after encouraging Hinamori Momo and watching her take the written test, Bai Chen immediately walked into the spiritual power test area. Be patient. Bai Chen looked up and looked ahead. Looking at the end of the line, those special instruments are specially used to test spiritual power. In the black gem-like eyes, there is a light of expectation. Spirit test. As the name suggests, use a special instrument to detect the level of spiritual power in the body of each applicant. Of course, about the standard of spiritual power level. Throughout the ages, in the aristocratic circle of Seraiti, there has been a professional term. That is, Lingwei. Lingwei is divided into 20 classes in total. From high to low, the smaller the number, the stronger the concentration of Reiatsu residing in the spirit sun. In general, in Gote 13, the lowest level Shinigami soldiers are the lowest 20th level Lingwei. Going up is the category of the chief executive, and the vice captain is 5th or 4th class. 3rd class or above represents the strength of the captain level. Of course, the level of spiritual power is not static. Instead, it will become stronger with the subsequent strength improvement. And next, all applicants were tested according to the order of queuing. Paddy Field, failed. Sato, you're not qualified. Shinosuke, unqualified. In less than a while, many people were eliminated one after another. Although some people have passed the test, overall, the elimination rate is still quite high. The vast majority of ordinary civilians from Rukongai were eliminated and left disappointed. Then, waited for a full hour. Even the written test is over, now it's Bai Chen's turn. Test the front of the instrument. Seeing Bai Chen approaching, the examiner nodded slightly. Bai Chen, inject spiritual energy. Heard the words. Bai Chen raised his hand calmly. Put the palm of your hand on the instrument, and start preparing to inject spiritual power. What kind of results will Bai Chen achieve? It's really exciting. Far away, Hinamori Momo, who just passed the written test and came to the spiritual power test area, was instantly attracted. She is pure and kind. From the bottom of my heart, pray for Bai Chen, hope he can achieve good results. Of course, not just Peaches, also Rukia Kuchiki, Abarai Renji, and Kira Izuru who just finished the written test. They also diverted their eyes immediately. His gaze was firmly fixed on Bai Chen's body, full of curiosity. I guess, there is a high probability of failure. Although there is no prejudice against Bai Chen. But after inquiring about his spiritual power again, Kira Izuru shook his head and said from the bottom of his heart. Isn't that nonsense? Abarai Renji said with a sneer, spiritual power test, fair and just. You can't pass the test by going through the back door and building relationships. Just wait and see. The next Bai Chen will be revealed soon. Finished speaking, Abarai Renji sneered. What he dislikes the most are those who have no strength in themselves but like to show off by force. And because I am determined to be the most famous top student in this year. So Abarai Renji doesn't want. In the same class, there will be strong ones who will steal his limelight. But, just when Kira Izuru was not optimistic. When Abarai Renji sneered. Rukia Kuchiki, who stood side by side with them, did not say a word from beginning to end, still insisting on the previous view. Revealed. Not sure. How do I feel that after hiding the strength, it is right to really expose it? Rukia Kuchiki thought to himself. From the beginning to the end, she has been silently observing Bai Chen's expression and demeanor. As usual, as always, calm and calm. This is not like the reaction that a person with weak spiritual power should have when standing in front of the testing equipment. As for Bai Chen's body, Rukia has no way of knowing why there is no fluctuation in spiritual power. At the same time, under the watchful eyes of the crowd. After placing his palms flat, Bai Chen had a thought and began to inject spiritual power. Shoot. Just for a moment, on the screen of the testing instrument, the first grid soon lit up. Hey, the grid is actually lit up. This means that Bai Chen has at least the 20th level of Lingwei, and he is already qualified. Looking at the bright red signal light above the test instrument. Candidates who looked around were surprised and envious. I didn't expect. Bai Chen had just been injected with spiritual power, and he easily passed the standard. Quote ? What's the situation? Isn't the spiritual power in that kid's body very weak? He actually has 20th grade spiritual power. Among the crowd, Abarai Renji's expression changed slightly. Subconsciously shaking his head, he mistakenly thought that he was wrong. But when he looked again, however, he was horrified to find that the signal lights of the test equipment were continuously lit up as if they were out of control. 19 and so on. 18 wait. 17 wait. Less than a few seconds. On the test instrument, 12 full signal lights turned on. 8th class Lingwei. This represents the strength of Bai Chen's Reiatsu, at least at the level of a high-ranking officer. F*K. It's real. This. Impossible. His spiritual power is so powerful. This moment, Abarai Renji was completely dumbfounded. His eyes widened desperately, and the picture of the signal lights flickering was reflected in the dark round eyeballs. It was so shocking in the depths of my heart. Thought. You can see Bai Chen make a fool of himself soon. Unexpectedly, Bai Chen, who had been keeping a low profile and silent all this time, immediately slapped him in the face with action. What shocked Abarai Renji even more was that, at this time, as long as you are not blind, you can see it at a glance. 8th class Ling Wei, obviously not Bai Chen's limit. He's obviously still doing his best, and he hasn't really used his full strength. Gulu. After realizing this, Abarai Renji couldn't help swallowing. His face turned blue and white, and he muttered to himself with great difficulty. Kira, Rukia, what kind of genius monster did we encounter? Chapter 10 3rd Class Spirit Might. Walking Captain. Advertise here. Too exaggerated. I didn't expect. There is actually a god tier hidden among the candidates of our class. It's just a part of Reiatsu injected into it, and it's already an 8th class spiritual power. It's hard to imagine, if Bai Chen goes all out, he might break the record directly, right? This moment, looking at the top of the test instrument. The 12-segment signal lights were constantly flashing dazzling light, and the examination room, which was originally crowded with people, instantly became silent. Whether it is the examiner or hundreds of students, everyone has the same expression of shock and astonishment on their faces. Obviously, everyone present was deeply shocked by Bai Chen's real strength exposed. But, compared with the amazement and envy of others, as the person involved, Bai Chen, Jun Lang showed no emotion on his face. As always, he was very calm. Since checking in at Shiba's house, after awakening the god-level talent skill, strange power, Bai Chen's control over spiritual power, it has even been meticulously detailed. Every cell in the body is so exaggerated. That is to say, the amount of spiritual power that can be detected by the testing instrument depends entirely on Bai Chen's mood. He can control spiritual power as he pleases. The most important is, the 8th level spiritual power that shocked the audience just now is actually only Bai Chen's total spiritual power, less than 1/10 of it. This is not an exaggeration. Instead, Bai Chen deliberately wanted to preserve his strength. After all, as the old saying goes, a big tree attracts the wind. If you are too ostentatious and high profile, it is easy to attract jealousy and targeting from others, which will cause more unnecessary troubles. And the 8th grade Ling Wei, equivalent to the potential and level of a high-ranking officer. Such a precedent was not unprecedented before today. Just like Ichimaru Jin and Shiba Kaien, the two of them had already shown their impressive talents when they were students. After graduation, they immediately rose to the top and became the 3rd seat in the team. Therefore, that's why, the reason why Bai Chen deliberately controlled his spiritual power and maintained it at the 8th level of spiritual power. The benefits of doing this. It can shock the audience. At the same time, it won't be too showy. However, just at the moment when Bai Chen was about to stop and was about to withdraw his spiritual power. But he was stopped face to face by the examiner, etc. Bai Chen, please don't hide your clumsiness, continue to release your spiritual power with all your strength. The examiner also wants to know, how strong will Bai Chen's final upper limit in terms of spiritual power be? Is it possible to surpass the predecessors? Quote. There was a moment of silence. Bai Chen raised his eyes and glanced around from the corner of his eye. I saw everyone's expectant expressions in my eyes, and at the same time thought of Shiba Kaien. Based on his knowledge of Shiba Kaien, since as early as a few days ago, the other party had already witnessed the consequences of releasing Reiatsu with all his strength. Based on Bai Chen's understanding of Shiba Kaien, as the vice captain of the 13th division, he finally discovered a genius monster by accident in Rukongai. Shiba Kaien is bound to be the first time. Inform Jashiro Yukitaki of the news about himself, and promise the latter that he will definitely recruit him into the team. Therefore, the exposure of strength is a matter of time. Even if Bai Chen deliberately hides his clumsiness, Shiba Kaien will leak the news sooner or later. So, didn't think about it for long. Bai Chen quickly put away his thoughts, and then increased the release of spiritual power. Next second, boom, only a loud bang was heard. The air around the test instrument seemed to be unable to withstand Bai Chen's spiritual power, and actually made a piercing roar. Not only that, with the infusion of majestic spiritual power, the scene that shocked the audience just now happened again. Brush, 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 ... Just for a split second. 3 signal lights in a row suddenly lit up. This means that Bai Chen's spiritual power is already a 5th class spiritual power. This is the upper limit of the vice captain level. If it goes higher, it's the captain level. This, impossible. It's so easy to reach the 5th class Ling Wei. Did Bai Chen really not cheat? Among the crowd, look at the rows of 15 signal lights lit up. Abarai Renji's facial expression has completely froze. For being too shocked, he couldn't care less about being slapped in the face madly. The 3 views exploded. Sanity collapsed. Constantly doubt life. It's too exaggerated. It's still not even his limit. Hira Izuru said in disbelief, his pupils quivering. 5th class Ling Wei, the Reiatsu level of the vice captain level. Such strength, once spread, is enough to shock the entire Soul Society. This is where Kira feels the most outrageous. Because he can clearly see, even with such a huge burst of spiritual power all at once, Bai Chen didn't seem to be struggling at all. The expression on his face was the same as before, calm and composed. Doesn't that explain it? Even now, isn't Bai Chen still going all out? Bai Chen doesn't really have a captain-level Reiatsu, does he? Beside the two, Rukia Kuchiki froze in place. Although she was bullish on Bai Chen from the beginning, thinking he might be a dark horse. Unexpectedly, Bai Chen's true strength was so amazing to the point of exaggeration. It also subverts Rukia Kuchiki's three views. But, shocked and amazed, Rukia Kuchiki also sincerely hopes that Bai Chen can create miracles and break history. And next, under the eyes of everyone in the audience, Bai Chen continued to move towards the test instrument, injecting his own spiritual power. Finally, brush. For a brief moment, another signal light is on. This represents the fourth class Lingwei. Can we go further? Everyone held their breath. He stared intently at the unlit grid next to it. Soon, the answer will be revealed. Boom. Only a roar was heard. The most anticipated and most unbelievable scene happened. Another signal light is on. A total of 18 signal lights are on. This is the third class Lingwei. It represents Reiatsu and talent at the captain level. The examiner was extremely excited and excitedly announced the results. To know, even in the past few decades, Ichimaru Jin, who has always been regarded as a once-in-a-century genius, is now the captain of the third team. When I took the assessment test back then, I didn't have such a score. From this it can be seen that the more talented Bai Chen, in the future achievements and upper limit, will inevitably be at the captain level, or even above. Bai Chen, you are so amazing. Behind, Hinamori Momo covered her mouth in surprise. Even now, Taozi still feels unreal. After all, Bai Chen is after she walked into the examination room. The first to meet and the only ones to talk to and know each other. I didn't expect to be a super genius. A captain-level powerhouse destined to rise in the future. Chapter 11 Muji Heals. Full-level Kaido. Advertise here. Bai Chen, here it is. This is the admission certificate. Then you just need to take it and go to the academic affairs office inside the college, and someone will receive you there. Maybe he was still immersed in the shock, and he hadn't recovered yet. When handing Bai Chen the enrollment certificate, the examiner actually took the initiative to bow down, with a very respectful attitude, as if he was facing a current Shinigami captain. As for his kind, it seemed like he was deliberately flattering, but at the same time seemed a bit humble to please him. Others present, almost all the candidates, instead of being disgusted, took it for granted. After all, Bai Chen just broke history. It showed the strongest talent in history among countless candidates in the past thousands of years. Bai Chen is qualified and confident. Win the appreciation and respect of the examiner. Thanks. Reach forward. After submitting the admission certificate, Bai Chen nodded politely towards the examiner. Then he left the test area and returned to Hinamori Momo under the admiration of everyone. Bai Chen, you are too amazing. If only I had half your talent and strength. Hinamori Momo stared at Bai Chen adoringly. The fair and pretty face also became rosy because of the excitement. It looks like freshly baked meatballs. Facing Hinamori Momo's admiration and praise, Bai Chen just smiled slightly, and then encouraged in turn. Peach, believe in yourself. You are also excellent, no worse than anyone else, don't be nervous. Due to the taller stature. So when talking to Hinamori Momo, Bai Chen needs to bow his head slightly. This led to, inadvertently, the distance between the two became closer. In such an ambiguous distance. Hinamori Momo could not only hear Bai Chen's heartbeat clearly, but even feel the warmth of his breath. The most important is, growing up, Hinamori Momo has never had such intimate contact with any man. So, Taozi's already red and hot face. With a swipe, a blush immediately appeared, turning her into a ripe peach. Pure and ignorant, looks very cute. Not far away. Rukia Kuchiki standing in line, waiting for a spiritual test. After glancing at this intimate scene from the corner of the eye. Although I don't envy Taozi, I can't help but take another look. That girl was born well, and she must have good talent. Under such a premise, she is really lucky to be able to get the encouragement and support of Bai Chen. Rukia Kuchiki silently envied. No words are needed to describe how good Bai Chen is. And staying by the side of excellent people will naturally become even better. So, later, during the spiritual power test, I must do my best. Try to be assigned to the same class as Bai Chen. Rukia Kuchiki, who has a strong character in her own right. Looking at Bai Chen, he clenched his fists and kept cheering for himself. Unknowingly, Bai Chen, who showed a once-in-a-century talent, silently became the target of Rukia Kuchiki. And next, I have an appointment with Hinamori Momo, and we will meet at the academic affairs office later. Bai Chen walked away from the examination room with his head held high amid countless adoration, respect, and envious eyes from all around him. Not long after, along the aisle of the college gate, when Bai Chen walked all the way, he just arrived at the academic affairs office. The system prompt sounds. Ding. The host has been detected and has arrived at the check-in location. Do you want to check in? After hearing the beep, Bai Chen had expectations in his eyes. Sign in immediately. Ding. The next step is to officially start signing in. The sign-in time is 5 seconds, and if you quit halfway, it will be considered a failure. ... Quickly. As the countdown ends, Bai Chen's strength skyrocketed again in an instant. Ding. Congratulations to host, the sign-in is successful. Sign-in reward. Muji Healing, Max Life Activity, Full Level Healing Ability. Next second. The moment the notification tone fell, Bai Chen suddenly felt it. His spiritual body, even though he had awakened the ultimate sage body long ago, has been reborn. But, after gaining the ability of Muji Healing, whether it is vitality or cell activity, it instantly becomes a full level. Have endless energy. The most important is, Muji Healing also endows Bai Chen with spiritual power, an extremely powerful healing ability. Bai Chen opened his palm. Then with a thought, release Reiatsu. Soon, emerald-like green light continuously emerged from his palm. It exudes a powerful breath of life that cannot be described in words. What a powerful life essence. No wonder Hashirama cells are so sought after in the ninja world. Villains are almost a must-have. Even if you are mentally prepared. But when he deeply felt the powerful life essence contained in his spiritual power, which was almost like a perpetual motion machine, which would never be exhausted, Bai Chen couldn't help but sigh. Since then, in any battle, no matter how serious the injury is, Bai Chen can be cured instantly with just one thought. And his healing ability is comparable to full-level Kaido. Time flies. In a blink of an eye, it was approaching evening. After a day of assessment and testing, the admissions results are out. Although the vast majority of people were eliminated, had to leave Seraiti with regret. However, a small number of talented people were admitted as they wished. Naturally, the few plot characters that Bai Chen met in the examination room are indispensable. Because of the excellent test scores, Hinamori Momo, Kira Izuru, and Abarai Renji were assigned to the same class as Bai Chen. And due to less talent, Rukia Kuchiki fell behind and was assigned to Class 2. Besides, because of Bai Chen's amazing performance in the spiritual power test, the powerful talent of the third-class Lingwei, this news, along with the spread of public opinion, quickly spread within Seraiti. Caused a stir throughout Gote 13. Chapter 12 The attention of Shinigami captains. Advertise here. What? It's just a candidate, but there is Reiatsu at the captain level. Omeda. You must be drunk and talking nonsense here. At this time, west of Seraiti, the team building of the 2nd Division team, the brightly lit team room. A stern and restrained questioning voice. It broke the original quiet atmosphere in the captain's room. I saw the center of the room. In front of the wooden table full of team affairs documents, the surface was covered with white Captain Haori, and underneath was Sufeng wearing a black tights. After hearing the news, immediately, an expression of disbelief appeared on the frosty pretty face, and he couldn't help asking sharply. As the current captain of the 2nd team, he also serves as the commander-in-chief of hidden maneuvers. Due to the control of a powerful intelligence network. So as soon as the news about Bai Chen came out, it spread to the 2nd team immediately. So now this scene happened. Team, Captain, you're joking, it's still far away from the off-duty time. Even if I had 100 guts, I wouldn't dare to drink indiscriminately under your nose. Being stared at by Broken Peak, Omeda's face was covered with cold sweat, and he quickly explained with a smile. Then what do you mean? The news is not intentionally exaggerated. That rookie student named Bai Chen really has a captain-level Reiatsu. In fact, Broken Peak already knew the answer clearly through Omeda's expression. Although the dead fat pig in front of him is usually timid and often lazy, but he never lies in front of himself. That is to say, what Omeda said is true. In this autumn's enrollment, a super genius was born. Yes, Captain Broken Peak. Seeing that Broken Peak gradually calmed down, he stopped yelling at himself. Omeda immediately turned into a melon-eating crowd of 8 trigrams, and was very excited to share more inside information. It is said that, during the spiritual power test, Bai Chen was very relaxed and didn't try his best from the beginning to the end. His upper limit seems to be more than third-class Lingwei. Omeda's words. In an instant, Sufeng's expression suddenly changed again, and he couldn't help but interrupt. More than third-class Reiatsu. Omeda, shut up. Do you really know what you're talking about? Finished speaking. Broken Peak glared fiercely. I almost couldn't resist kicking Omeda's ass. To know, even many years ago, due to Shihuan Yoruichi's defection, Broken Peak took over the position of captain of the 2nd Division, and has continued to this day. But until now, even after so long, Sui Feng's spiritual power is actually only at the level of third-class spiritual power. That's why, when hearing, Bai Chen may be more than a third-class Lingwei, Sui Feng will show the reason for being irritable. Strong character. The proud Broken Peak. From the bottom of my heart, I can't bear it. The strength of a rookie has surpassed myself. From Broken Peak's point of view, this is an insult to Captain Shinigami's status. Go. Arrange the manpower immediately. The more he thought about it, the more he felt unconvinced, and Sufeng commanded in a sharp voice. From now on, regardless of day and night, keep an eye on the academy for me 24 hours a day. I want to see What will happen to this Bai Chen who has been touted and praised by everyone? At the same time, the team affairs room of the 13th Division. It's another picture with a harmonious atmosphere. Hehe, Kaien, it seems that you are right. The Bai Chen you keep mentioning is indeed a once-in-a-century genius. He is a rare good seed. Full of teacups. The smoke lingered, and the two sides of the wooden table wafted with the smell of tea. Shiba Kaien, as well as his immediate boss, Jashiro Yukitake, the two sat face to face across the wooden case. Captain Jashiro, are you excited? Picking up the teacup and taking a sip, Shiba Kaien patted his chest and assured. Just don't worry. Based on the relationship between me and Bai Chen, once he graduates from Spiritual Arts Academy in the future, no matter what, he will definitely be a member of our 13th squad. Heard the words. Jashiro Yukitake shook his head and smiled. Kaien, I know you are very confident, but you can't tell now. With the talent shown by Bai Chen, it will definitely attract the attention of every Shinigami captain. Not surprisingly, when he is about to graduate, he will inevitably attract the heads of Shinigami captains to loot him in turns. Jashiro Yukitake has even been able to imagine it in advance. On the day Bai Chen graduated, the captains of Gote 13 lined up neatly at the entrance of the academy, greeted him and worked hard to recruit him. At the same time, Jashiro Yukitake is also right. Besides him and Broken Peak, at the same moment, the other Shinigami captains were also discussing Bai Chen. Just like the 5th Division. Ali, Captain Aizen, it must be because of Bai Chen that you are in such a hurry to inform me from the 3rd team. The iconic Kyoto accent spread throughout every corner of the team room. Obviously the captain of the 3rd team. But Ichimaru Jin appeared in the team room of the 5th team out of season, and looked at him with a smile. That man leaning against the wooden table, concentrating on practicing calligraphy. Silver, what do you think of Bai Chen? Nib pauses. The movement of waving the brush stopped abruptly. Aizen stood up, pushed the black-rimmed glasses lightly, and asked with a faint smile. Well, do you still need to ask? Shrugging, Ichimaru Jin replied nonchalantly. 3rd class Ling Wei, but she is much more talented than I was back then. With the stability of Captain Aizen, you probably won't let such a genius monster continue to grow without restriction, right? Ichimaru Jin said with a smile. There is a tacit understanding between him and Aizen, and one look can see through each other's thoughts. Yin, you really know me best. The smile on Aizen's face didn't diminish at all. But under the black-rimmed lenses, in those dark and wise pupils, there was a terrifying chill. And if there are other outsiders present, you will definitely be shocked by Aizen's conflicting appearance of tenderness and indifference. So, what do you think about Bai Chen, Captain Aizen? Despite Aizen's indifference, but Ichimaru Jin is obviously used to it for a long time. He hid his hands in his cuffs, then rested his head on the back of his head, and leaned lazily against the edge of the pillar. Keep an eye on Bai Chen. Pay close attention to his every move. Turn around slowly. Aizen turned his back to Ichimaru Jin. Pick up the pen again and continue the unfinished calligraphy just now. Whenever the right moment comes, approach and show Shikai in front of Bai Chen. Chapter 13 New Check-in. Wood Series Zanpakuto. Advertise here. The next day, it is the opening ceremony of Spiritual Arts Academy. So early in the morning, after putting on the school uniform received from the Academic Affairs Office, Bai Chen came to the college square to gather. Bai Chen, good morning. Bai Chen has just arrived. Then I saw Hinamori Momo, who was also wearing a school uniform and braided her hair. Peach, after putting on this white school uniform, you look even sweeter than yesterday. Bai Chen said from the bottom of his heart. It's not that he intends to be seductive. It's Hinamori Momo's innocent appearance, paired with a white school uniform, and those big watery eyes. That's right, she's a schoolgirl-level beauty embryo. Ah, Bai Chen. You are too good at complimenting people. Hearing Bai Chen's words, Hinamori Momo's face turned red instantly. She lowered her head shyly, not daring to look directly into Bai Chen's eyes, and even her earlobes were quickly stained with a blush. I'm just telling the truth. Seeing Taozi's cute appearance, Bai Chen couldn't help but stretch out his hand, and gently patted her head like a big brother next door. And this act of intimacy. It made Hinamori Momo's head so hot that he almost passed out on the spot. It's only the 2nd day. Have I already started physical contact with Bai Chen? Will the progress be too fast? Quote. Thinking of this, Hinamori Momo's head is smoking, and the blush on his face is almost as bright as the sun. But, Peach is also good, and Bai Chen is also good. The two didn't notice that when they were interacting intimately like a couple, a certain yellow-haired boy in the distance became numb with envy. Well, have you started flirting early in the morning? Sure enough, whether it's Rukongai or Spiritual Arts Academy, no matter where they are, talented people are more popular. Half squatting, with his chin resting on his hands, Kira Izuru sighed listlessly. But at the same time with emotion. His eyes, intentionally or not, secretly looked at Hinamori Momo. No way, Kira, you also play the trick of falling in love at first sight. Isn't this something only LSPs do? After noticing Kira Izuru's gaze, Abarai Renji froze for a moment, the corners of his mouth twitching slightly. Good guy, not a single word was spoken. Just being in the crowd and looking at Hinamori Momo a few more times, does this create a good impression? Are you afraid that you are greedy for someone's body? Where? Renji, stop joking. I didn't say anything. Obviously guessed right. Hira Izuru was in a hurry, and quickly explained with sweat profusely. Ah, okay, I understand. It's just a good feeling. Abarai Renji backhanded. But, seriously, if you really like it, then act boldly. Action. Hee. After taking a look at Bai Chen next to Hinamori Momo, Hira Izuru's whole person was suddenly depressed. He shook his head and said without hope. With Bai Chen here, Hinamori Momo, she will never fall in love with me in her life. At the same time, just when the two licking dogs were talking to each other, Bai Chen, who was disgusted by them, did not chat with Hinamori Momo at the moment. Jun Lang's face immediately showed anticipation after hearing the system notification tone. Ding. New check-in task released. No time limit, please check in the narrow room. After signing in, you will receive a special reward, Zanpakuto of the wood type. When the reminder sounded, Bai Chen's eyes lit up instantly. Wooden family Zanpakuto. Sure enough, I guessed right. My Zanpakuto ability is still closely related to Senju Hashirama. And the so-called Zanpakuto of the wood system should be the local spiritualization of the wood-style secret art. For the latest check-in rewards, Bai Chen was both surprised and at the same time took it for granted. After all, the previous check-ins had already confirmed this point. But, although already guessed, but Bai Chen's heart is still full of anticipation. I seem to remember, in the entire Gotei 13, there doesn't seem to be any wood Zanpakuto. Bai Chen thought for a moment. No relevant impressions were found in the memory bank. Take a step back. Even if there is a wood-type Zanpakuto, it must be very weak. If not in obscurity. But, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether there is a precedent before. Next, as long as I successfully sign in, I will awaken the wood element Zanpakuto. Then, this Zanpakuto, which was born because of Senju Hashirama, will definitely become famous in the Soul Society. Thinking of all kinds of wood-style ninjutsu, and Senju Hashirama's ultimate invincible big move after turning on Sage Mode. Bai Chen's mood is extremely excited. Just imagine, if Buddha is transformed into a Buddha on the top of Soul Society. With the blessing of infinite spiritual power like a perpetual motion machine, I am afraid that the entire Gotei 13 will be smashed. Chapter 14 Awakening Wood-Style Mystery. Advertise here. Young people, from this moment on, you will officially become a student of Spiritual Arts Academy. And in the next few years, continue to practice, learn, and become stronger. I hope that every day in the future, everyone can live up to the time and graduate as soon as possible, become Shinigami. On the platform of the square, high-level members of the college, passionate speeches. And this speech naturally encouraged the freshmen in the audience, making them gather confidence and have a good vision for the future. Of course, Bai Chen is an exception. For this kind of old-fashioned speech, he has long been mentally prepared. So during the entire opening ceremony, Bai Chen entered a state of meditation throughout the whole process. In his opinion, instead of drinking the chicken soup given by the senior management of the college and touching yourself, it is better to focus on yourself. Use this to further adapt to the inexhaustible abnormal spiritual power in the body, which is like the source of life. And next, after the school opening ceremony ended, follow the previously assigned list. All the freshmen came to their own classes, waiting to receive their sealed state. Bai Chen, I'm going to receive the sealed state soon. I'm really looking forward to it. In the classroom of Class 1, Grade 1. In the row near the window, Hinamori Momo and Bai Chen became the same table. And when it comes to sealed state, in Taozi's big watery brown eyes, there is obviously a look of tension and anticipation. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Bai Chen nodded slightly and said from the bottom of his heart. Sealed state. That is the name of Zanpakuto when it was not liberated. To put it simply, it is an unpolished embryo. And all sealed states. They are all created by Ermei Yuangyu, the knife god of Team Zero. Shinigami of Gotei 13, except for a few cases, while studying at Spiritual Arts Academy, the sealed state is temporarily on loan. They will not be officially awarded until they join the team. The most important is, as an embryo, each sealed state has unlimited potential. Sealed state owners can continuously write their own spirit and beliefs through the company of day and night, in the process of eating and even sleeping. Thus awakening to become the one and only Zanpakuto. I don't know what kind of category my Zanpakuto belongs to. Hinamori Momo continued to dream. Zanpakuto, various categories. There are fire, wind, thunder, ice, and Kido, etc. Different classes with different abilities. Whether it is powerful or not depends on the fusion with the soul of Zanpakuto's master. Look at the innocent look of Hinamori Momo. Bai Chen thought for a while and asked, Taozi, do you usually like to play with fire? Ah, suddenly asked by Bai Chen, Hinamori Momo was stunned for a moment. Play with fire. This kind of sound is full of dangerous things. I'm afraid only boys who like outdoor adventures will do it. And she is a serious lady. It will definitely not be messed up. But, blinking his eyes, he thought about it carefully. Hinamori Momo still found related experiences from the memory bank. I seem to remember. When I was a child, when I was playing outdoors, I had the experience of warming myself by the fire under the plum tree. However, because I was too young at the time, I didn't know how to add wood. It was too fierce to cause the fire to rise all of a sudden. It finally exploded like a fireball. At that time, if the adults hadn't been present to save the fire and extinguish the fire in time, the consequences would have been disastrous. Hear the memories of Hinamori Momo. Bai Chen's eyes lit up immediately, and he couldn't help but lose his voice and said, Taozi, I didn't expect. You actually have such a dark history. Right, no wonder her Zanpakuto will be called Fame in the future. It seems that Taozi has been an expert at playing with fire since she was a child. Bai Chen, what about you? Which category do you think your Zanpakuto might be in the future? Hinamori Momo asked curiously. I don't know, it probably has something to do with the flowers and trees. Bai Chen replied with a smile. Senju Hashirama's signature ability, wood-style mystery. After launching ninjutsu, it can grow multiple trees out of thin air. At the same time, it can also create a forest in an instant. After the trees bloom and bear fruit, they can even spread pollen and release highly toxic. Therefore, there is nothing wrong with answering that way. The wood-type Zanpakuto is comparable to the source of life. Flowers and trees. Hinamori Momo frowned, and said in surprise, how do I remember that in the history of the Soul Society, there seems to be no Zanpakuto with relevant abilities? Shook his head, Hinamori Momo subconsciously thought that Bai Chen was just joking. Ability is related to flowers and trees. Such a Zanpakuto doesn't sound strong at all. And Bai Chen is the greatest talent ever. And at this moment, the head teacher of Class 1 walked into the room, and after introducing himself, he announced directly. Everyone, next I'll lead you to the place where the Zanpakuto is stored, the Hazama. You can pick your favorite sealed state there later. Hearing these words, everyone present is very excited. Hira Izuru looks forward to it, Abarai Renji clenches his fist excitedly. And Hinamori Momo is nervous. Even Bai Chen, the heart is also full of expectations. Quickly, under the leadership of the class teacher. Everyone arrived at their destination soon. Hey, as expected of the place where Zanpakuto is stored, the entire outer wall of the narrow room is actually made of murderous stones. Looking up at the building in front of me, Bai Chen recognized at a glance that the towering outer wall here is exactly the same as the Lingling wall, and its material is also murderous stone. But this is also normal. For the academy, the sealed state is undoubtedly one of the most valuable items. It is a matter of course to store in such a safe place. Then, as the head teacher lifted the ceiling barrier. With a bang, the narrow door opened, and everyone stepped inside. Wow, it really deserves to be a place dedicated to storing sealed states. Compared to other places in the academy, the environment here seems to be in an extremely sacred place. Go deeper and deeper along the aisle. Looking at the scene inside the narrow room, especially the solemn decoration, the students couldn't help but exclaim. Everyone's emotions were instantly strongly infected. See that over there? At the end of the aisle, there are countless sealed states. Go, choose the one you like within the specified time. While everyone was amazed, the head teacher waved his hand, pointed to the end of the aisle, and reminded with a smile. And following his gestures, sure enough, at the end of the aisle, everyone found a large number of sealed states on display. And this time, in Bai Chen's mind, the system notification sounded again. Ding! The host has been detected and has arrived at the check-in location. Do you want to check in? Sign in now. Bai Chen's decision without thinking. He had been looking forward to this moment for a long time. Ding! The next step is to officially start signing in. The sign-in time is 5 seconds, and if you quit halfway, it will be considered a failure. ... As the beep falls, the 5-second countdown quickly ended. Bai Chen finally got his long-awaited reward. Ding! Congratulations to host, the sign-in is successful. Sign-in reward. Wood Zanpakuto, awakening wood-style secret technique. This moment, Bai Chen suddenly felt it. At the moment of awakening the wood-style secret technique, my strength skyrocketed again. Chapter 15 Blade Cicada. Enter Soul Space. Advertise here. Sign in successfully. Sign into Zanpakuto, the wood system, awaken and master the wood-style secrets. This moment, Bai Chen obviously felt it. His brain also has a lot more memory than before. This is Senju Hashirama's lifetime of fighting. And all his insights and skills when he used the wood-style secret technique. At this time, when Senju Hashirama was in the ninja world, all the battle scenes before and after his death seemed to be flying around. They kept flashing through Bai Chen's mind one by one. Looking at these vivid pictures, and witnessing every wood-style ninjutsu release. From the simplest defensive trick, the tree boundary wall. Then to the bondage type, thorn killing technique. As well as wood clone, wood stands, and a wide range of tricks. The tree world is born. Birth of the sea of trees. And the arrival of the flower tree world and so on. Is it because the template of the system has been strengthened at the god level? In addition to Senju Hashirama, all the wood-style secret techniques used by other people who have transplanted Hashirama cells have become part of the memory. Bai Chen was pleasantly surprised to find that the wood style he has mastered is equivalent to an encyclopedia. It contains the entire ninja world, almost all wood-style ninjutsu that has appeared. Even Yamato's 3 bedrooms and 1 living room technique is no problem. He helped Bai Chen develop his real estate business by accident. Tisk. In the future, whenever Seraiti suffers large-scale serious damage, I can become the #1 builder of the Soul Society. Bai Chen joked. Don't talk about 3 bedrooms and 1 living room, as long as the captain pays money. The virtual night palace made of wood can be restored 1-to-1. But excitement and good mood are one thing. Bai Chen soon discovered that although he has mastered all the wood-style secrets, he doesn't seem to be able to release them immediately. But need to pass a medium item. Sure enough, the sealed state is still inseparable. For this, Bai Chen was not surprised. Now that all the skills learned have been transformed into local spiritual power, Zanpakuto is naturally needed. And at the same time, next to Bai Chen's ears, came the hesitant voices of other students. What should I do? I'm really confused. There are so many sealed states, I really don't know which one to choose. Why don't you look over there? I feel that the sealed state placed in the back row seems to be of slightly better quality. At this time, in the aisle, Bai Chen's classmates are caught in a tangle one by one. Faced with a large number of sealed states, it will be difficult to make a choice for a while. Naturally, several plot characters are also included. Bai Chen, have you thought about it? Which sealed state do you fancy? Coming to Bai Chen's side, Hinamori Momo asked curiously. Just now, she deliberately circled the entire hall. Although after seeing a large number of sealed states, I am very excited and eager to try. But the natural sensibility of women makes Tauzi suffer from entanglement. She hadn't been able to really make up her mind to pick. It doesn't matter. Bai Chen shrugged, then walked to a sealed state and pulled it out. The whole set of actions is free and easy. The main thing is a willfulness. Bai Chen, are you serious? How casual. Hinamori Momo stunned. The whole person froze in place dumbfounded. In any case, she never expected that Bai Chen would not care so much about a matter that she had been struggling with for a long time. What's the matter? I'm just too lazy to choose, you don't have to learn from me. Bai Chen smiled. Hinamori Momo, what a lazy choice. The brain circuit of a genius is indeed incomprehensible to ordinary people. Not far away. Originally, Hira Izuru and Abarai Renji, who were carefully selected, were constantly exchanging opinions. After hearing Bai Chen's voice from a distance, he was also stunned. Damn, Hira, look over there. Isn't the sealed state in Bai Chen's hand the one we chose to give up after our discussion just now? He actually fell in love with him. When Abarai Renji suddenly turned around and looked at the source of the sound. When he saw the familiar sealed state in Bai Chen's hand, his expression instantly became stunned. Almost even the entire chin was so surprised that it was about to fall off. What's the situation? Did we miss it? That sealed state is obviously not eye-catching, not as good as others. But Bai Chen still chose it. This moment, Hira Izuru is also good, and Abarai Renji is also good. The two coincidentally have a feeling of doubting life. It's not clear whether it's Bai Chen's problem, or the two of them have poor vision. But, to the startled reaction of the two, Bai Chen didn't know about it, nor did he deliberately pay attention. After a few chats with Hinamori Momo, Bai Chen took the sealed state and came to the head teacher. Quote ? Bai Chen, less than 5 minutes have passed, how did you choose it so quickly? Looking at the brand new and sharp sealed state in Bai Chen's hand, the head teacher was stunned and couldn't help being very surprised. Undeniable, Bai Chen is a super genius. There will definitely be his own unique thinking and ideas. But, the head teacher asked himself, among all the new students he had brought over the years. Whenever it comes to selecting the sealed state, no one has ever been as fast as Bai Chen. To know, for a Shinigami, Zanpakuto, without a doubt, is the most important thing. Shinigami, living in symbiosis with Zanpakuto. Die with Zanpakuto. Therefore, in general, considering the prospects of a long Shinigami career, almost everyone will make a careful choice after careful consideration. Only Bai Chen is an exception. As always, he stood out from the crowd and showed remarkable features. Choose it. Next, for the rest of the time, I should be able to wait outside freely. Bai Chen asked back. That's right, the teacher in charge nodded, go straight ahead and you will find the exit. You can go back to the class first and wait. After obtaining the permission of the head teacher, Bai Chen didn't stay any longer, but returned to the classroom with the sealed state alone. Although time is limited, however, there should be a long time before the end of the selection process. What should we do during this period? In an empty classroom, Bai Chen looked down at the sealed state that he had laid flat on the table just now, and an idea quickly popped up in his mind. It is said that Zanpakuto merges with the soul of the owner. Then since I have passed the sign-in, I have obtained the reward of Zanpakuto of the wood system. Then what will happen inside my soul space? With doubts and curious thoughts, Bai Chen raised his legs, sat cross-legged, picked up the sealed state and placed it flat on his knees. She strikes a unique pose that only a Shinigami can understand. Blade Cicada. This is a way for him to directly enter the inner world through meditation. Quickly, hardly a moment later, Bai Chen only felt the darkness in front of his eyes. Then his consciousness came to the soul space. Chapter 16 Valley of the End. Huge Buddha statue. Advertise here. Into a meditative state. Not long after, Bai Chen's thoughts quickly became blurred. At the same time, that sealed state lying flat on his lap. The smooth and sharp knife surface suddenly shone with a burst of dazzling green light. This is the power of wood style. Before Bai Chen could react, his last ray of consciousness was suddenly pulled into the soul space by this burst of green light. Opened up a conversation with Zanpakuto for good. Not long after, when Bai Chen opened his eyes, I found that the environment I was in was no longer the empty classroom before, but came to a brand new strange environment. Look around. Clouds float in the blue sky. The warm sunlight, through the gaps in the clouds, poured wantonly on the earth, exuding a strong breath of life everywhere. This should be my soul space, right? Bai Chen looked around. He saw the blue sky, white clouds, and lush forest vegetation in his eyes. After simply admiring for a while, he nodded and smiled in satisfaction. Fine. The scene inside the soul space was similar to what he had expected. It wasn't that kind of gloomy and dark environment. This represents Bai Chen's pure heart. There is no negative effect due to gaining great power. But, after exploring for a while, Bai Chen soon found a hidden valley at the end of the forest. This is, no way, in my soul space, there is also the Valley of the End. Bai Chen was shocked, looking into the distance with a surprised face. He could clearly see that at the end of the valley, a huge waterfall hundreds of meters high was falling from the sky. And on the left and right sides of the waterfall, surrounded by dense forests, each has a huge statue, standing upright. Left side, it is a huge Buddha statue. Solemn and sacred, extraordinary and refined, exuding endless majesty. The most important, except for the gestures of meditation. On the back of the huge Buddha statue, thousands of wooden giant arms are stacked and stretched like sun discs. Brings words indescribable, strong visual impact effect. And is the master of the soul space. Even if Bai Chen had already mastered the power of the wood-style secret technique, and the moment he saw the Valley of the End, he was mentally prepared in advance. But, the moment he saw the huge Buddha statue, deep in my heart, I was extremely shocked, and my emotions were still strongly impacted. Turn out to be, as this the oppressive force of wood style's most powerful move. No wonder Uchiha Madara, who brought 9 tails, was smashed by the billion punch in the battle at the Valley of the End. Leaving aside the huge Buddha statue, which is almost 1,000 meters high, it is not to be discussed. Bai Chen is just watching. You can clearly feel it, the energy contained in each wooden giant arm. No less than tens of thousands of Zanpakuto, the destructive power emitted when released at the same time. And there are countless such giant arms. Endless. It seems, after the systematic strengthening, the power of the Buddha on the top is also countless times stronger than before. It is indeed the most powerful move among all wood-style secrets. Step forward. Came to the end of the valley. Looking up at the huge Buddha statue, Bai Chen couldn't help but feel excited. He has even begun to fantasize. In the future, in the course of the battle, after I activate my ultimate move, I will open the picture of Gundam in front of the enemy. Even, with like nuclear power, under the blessing of the huge spiritual power provided by the ultimate sage body. What Espada, Captain Shinigami, or the Knights of the Star Cross. As many as there are, all with one punch. No matter how strong the opponent is, he can easily defeat it. Subsequently, when Bai Chen calmed down, turning around, looking through the woods, and looking at the statue opposite. Just glanced at it, I couldn't help but feel very pleasantly surprised. Yes, almost forgot, since it's Valley of the End, with Senju Hashirama, there must be Uchiha Madara. Bai Chen's eyes widened in surprise. Deep in the pupils, it reflects the appearance of another statue. Beneath the disheveled white hair, it is a face with firm eyes and full of confidence. And most notably, on the white and purple eyes, there are circles of Rinnegan pupils. As well as, wrapped around the body, engraved with multiple hook jade patterns, a white loose robe. Rinnegan. 6 Paths Madara. Could it be? In addition to the god-level Senju Hashirama template, there is another power hidden inside my Zanpakuto, controlled by 6 Paths Madara. Thinking of this, Bai Chen's gaze gradually became hot. Originally, just having Zanpakuto of the wood type, and with the blessing of the ultimate sage body, his combat power is already strong enough. I didn't expect. After coming to the soul space through the Blade Cicada, I unexpectedly found a surprise. Although currently, he's just mastered the wood style mystery. Even the ultimate move of wood style still needs a certain amount of time to adapt and proficiency before it can be perfectly displayed. As for the conditions for opening the 6 Paths Madara template, it is even more unknown. But that's okay. Just know that your own Zanpakuto is not just a single power. Bai Chen is already very satisfied. At least this means that his future peak limit is more comprehensive and stronger than previously expected. Chapter 17 Sign in. 4 skills Grandmaster. Advertise here. I didn't expect. Wood-style secret technique is just the starting point. The ultimate upper limit of Zanpakuto, at least above the Sage of Six Paths level, has the power to destroy the world. Look at one left, one right. 2 towering giant statues. Bai Chen couldn't help feeling how powerful and extraordinary the wooden Zanpakuto he possessed was. But, just when he was planning to stay in the soul space for a while to gain more insights, suddenly, a feeling of exhaustion came to my heart. And his figure gradually became a little blurry. Is it because I entered the soul space for the first time, and I haven't been able to fully adapt yet? Bai Chen looked up. Looking at the 2 statues again, he said with some regret, it seems, there is still a lack of a suitable time. And this timing, it is estimated that we will have to wait until the moment when Zanpakuto is completely liberated, before we can truly communicate with this soul space. Thinking of this, Bai Chen soon felt relieved. After all, he came to this soul space by force in the way of Blade Zen. And this way, it consumes a lot of energy. Short-term overloading is actually quite normal. And next, want to avoid this from happening again. In the days to come, what Bai Chen needs to do. That is, as common sense says. In the process of accompanying day and night, constantly inject Reiatsu into the sealed state. In this way, relying on the accumulation of time, Zanpakuto will be truly liberated soon. After thinking about it, Bai Chen is no longer nostalgic. In the end, he slowly closed his eyes, and his vision became pitch black. Soon after the consciousness exits the soul space. After a short wait, other students arrived one after another in the empty classroom. After the specified time has elapsed, Hinamori Momo, Kira Izuru, Abarai Renji and others have also selected their favorite sealed state. Above the podium, scanned the entire classroom. After seeing everyone, each of them couldn't put it down, playing with the sealed state he had just selected. The head teacher nodded in satisfaction, and then announced loudly. Everyone, now that everyone has obtained the sealed state. Then next, it's time to start the class. And the content of the class is about the practice of Shinigami's 4 major fighting skills. In the words of the head teacher, once again ignited everyone's enthusiasm. Including Bai Chen, there was also a look of anticipation in their eyes. To know, although for a Shinigami, Zanpakuto is essential, and the most important thing, determines the upper limit of Shinigami's peak combat power. But, in addition to Zanpakuto, Shinigami also masters several other different fighting styles. That is, the so-called Zonquan Zugi, cutting, that is, the cutting technique, represents the strength of the level of swordsmanship. And so on. The other 3 tricks are white hits, shunpo, and kido. According to the regulations of the college, during the 6-year student career, only when the 4 major combat skills are above the pass line at the same time, will you be eligible for graduation. That is to say, in addition to awakening Zanpakuto. During these 6 years, the most important thing for the students to do is to practice the Shinigami 4 skills. This is also the skill that every Shinigami will need to survive in the future. However, at the moment when the class teacher's voice fell on the edge of the window sill, Bai Chen's expression suddenly changed slightly, revealing an expression of surprise. That is because, without warning, the system prompt sounded again. Ding. New check-in released. No time limit. Please go to the training ground in Spiritual Arts Academy and check in. After signing in, you will receive special rewards. Shinigami 4 skills, skilled Grandmaster. Contrary to Bai Chen's expectations, the place to sign in for the task this time is also inside the Spiritual Arts Academy, which is the training ground that we will go to later. The most important is, the sign-in reward is actually the 4 skills Grandmaster. Such a reward was tailor-made for him. Tisk tisk tisk. You can actually sign in directly, Shinigami's 4 major fighting skills. I have to say, the system is really getting better and better. Woohoo. Take off. Bai Chen couldn't help cheering in his heart. Although this time the sign-in reward has nothing to do with the god-level Senju Hashirama template. However, it is also quite good to be able to directly obtain Shinigami's combat skills. Don't say anything else. After the 4 skills Grandmaster, he can save time and devote all his energy to the adaptation and perception of Zanpakuto. There is no more comfortable arrangement. And next, under the leadership of the class teacher, everyone came to the training ground area located in the east of the academy. Here, the area is huge. At a glance, there are more than 30 venues that can be provided to different classes for training at the same time. Among the crowd, the moment you walk into the training ground, in Bai Chen's mind, the system prompt sounded synchronously. Ding. The host has been detected and has arrived at the check-in location. Do you want to check in? After hearing the beep, glancing ahead, he was handing over to the head teacher. After the figure of the teacher in charge of teaching, Bai Chen replied without thinking. Sign in immediately. The next moment. Ding. The next step is to officially start signing in. The sign-in time is 5 seconds, and if you quit halfway, it will be considered a failure. As the beep falls, wait until the 5-second countdown is over. The corner of Bai Chen's mouth grinned, and he was satisfied with the sign-in reward. Ding. Congratulations to host, the sign-in is successful. Sign in reward. Shinigami 4 fighting skills, skilled Grandmaster. This moment, when the beep ends, Bai Chen suddenly felt it, and his brain's thoughts surged, and then a large series of memories poured into it. It's about Shinigami's 4 major fighting skills, unique experience and insights. And Grandmaster proficiency. Make Bai Chen in a short moment. Immediately fill in the gaps in Shinigami theoretical knowledge. It's comfortable. Next, there is no need to listen to the teacher's tedious explanations and practical exercises. Bai Chen smiled in satisfaction, and his expression became vigorous. With a skilled Grandmaster in control, coupled with the vast and incomparably superb Reiatsu in the body, Bai Chen's strength in Shinigami's 4 skills can be said to be full at once. There is almost no need to practice anymore, and it is directly at the full level. Chapter 18. This is not the white hits I know at all. Advertise here. And next. With the handover between the head teacher and the teacher stationed at the training ground, the handover is completed. The training course on Shinigami's 4 major fighting skills has officially begun. Fellow students, I am the resident instructor of this training ground, and I am also the teacher of your first grade class, the next White Hits course. Stand in the middle of the training field. Teacher White Hits, as the name suggests, not only has a burly and muscular physique, but also has piled up muscles. Inadvertently let the students stand in awe. The so-called White Hits, according to the popular saying, is actually fist fighting. That's what's often said, taijutsu, in the onlookers and attentive listening of the students. Teacher White Hits talked about the basic theoretical knowledge about White Hits, in the most simple and easy to understand language with a resonant voice. For this, everyone listened with gusto. Everyone's ears were pricked up, for fear of missing any details. Lest you fall behind in the first class. As for Bai Chen, but shrugged his eyes. As always, fish in troubled waters among the crowd. After all, I just got the sign in reward. Therefore, Bai Chen has already mastered the content taught by Teacher White Hits, and naturally there is no need to listen to the lecture carefully. But, by his side, Hinamori Momo, who has hair with balls, has been immersed in it. Even when the teacher talked about the key points, Taozi couldn't help reaching out and making a few gestures quietly. Seeing Hinamori Momo's actions, Bai Chen couldn't help but smile. Obviously a cute girl with a love brain. Now, like a female man, she directly started to do it. Such a contrast is not only very cute. At the same time, Bai Chen found a better way to pass the time than taking a nap and fishing in class. That is, I have been admiring Taozi's cuteness beautifully. Subsequently, after about an hour, put all the theoretical knowledge about White Hits. Everything in detail. After telling it all, Teacher White Hits raised his eyes, glanced around, and called Bai Chen directly. Student Bai Chen, I have already heard about your genius deeds. First, after a deliberate compliment, Teacher White Hits immediately frowned, with a critical tone, and then said in a deep voice. However, I noticed that during the lecture just now, you were absent-minded from the beginning to the end. Obviously patronizing the girl next to me. When Teacher White Hits finished speaking. Among the crowd, there was a cry. Hinamori Momo's complexion immediately turned into a ripe apple, extremely shy. Even if the person criticized by the review was Bai Chen. But Dao Zi felt even more embarrassed. And she looks like this. Hira Izuru was dumbfounded once again watching the shy look unique to little girls. No way. Can you flirt in class? It's getting too much. Bai Chen and Hinamori Momo, do they really not care about other people's feelings? Finished speaking. Hira Izuru sighed helplessly. He could tell at a glance that the reason why Hinamori Momo was shy was not because he was deliberately mentioned by the teacher. Instead, it was because of Bai Chen's attention and close-up appreciation. Therefore, even though the two of them are currently not in a public relationship. But in Kira Izuru's heart, Bai Chen and Hinamori Momo have already agreed that they are a couple with warming feelings. And as a crush, the redder Momo's face is, the worse Kira Izuru's heart will be. He had to admit that the monochrome dog was really suffering. But, Kira Izuru sighed. Abarai Renji's focus is on Teacher White Hits. He grinned slightly, poked Kira Izuru's arm, and said excitedly. Kira, cheer up, didn't you see? Teacher White Hits is obviously very dissatisfied with Bai Chen's fishing behavior just now. If I'm not mistaken, in order to establish my prestige, Bai Chen will definitely be asked to come out next. Really? Abarai Renji just finished speaking. Teacher White Hits raised the decibel, looked at Bai Chen and asked seriously. Student Bai Chen, since you didn't take it seriously the whole time, you must have already mastered the essence of White Hits. Then next, you will be the opponent in the actual combat exercise. Teacher White Hits wanted to beat Bai Chen on purpose, and he found a good reason. I will fight against your simulation. Let other students feel the practicality of White Hits in battle more intuitively. However, Teacher White Hits doesn't know. The sentence he just said, surely you have mastered the essence of White Hits. This sentence is true. Really right. Sure. No problem. It was beyond the expectations of Teacher White Hits and other students. Although criticized by name, and was asked to conduct actual combat drills immediately, there is a high probability that he may become a human sandbag. But, Bai Chen readily agreed, and consciously walked out of the crowd, came to the center of the training ground, and stood calmly opposite Teacher White Hits. Quote question mark exclamation mark quote. So confident. See this. Teacher Whitehits couldn't help squinting his eyes. Although Bai Chen's spiritual talent is very strong, with third-class spiritual power. But, practical drills in the classroom. Is asked to control Reiatsu. The two sides are at the same level, and then use the Whitehits technique to fight in melee. So, even though Reiatsu is not as good as Bai Chen, can rely on years of teaching experience, as well as seasoned practical experience. Teacher Whitehits doesn't think. In the actual combat exercise later, Bai Chen will be able to parry his punches and kicks. However, next, when Teacher Whitehits just finished announcing the rules. And when Bai Chen was allowed to take the lead in making moves, he soon showed a tearful expression. That is because, boom, spiritual power explodes. The spirit exploded. The air instantly vibrated and roared. Although Reiatsu is required to be limited within a certain range. However, with the proficiency of the Grandmaster and the weird power skill signed in before. Even if there is not much spiritual power that can be emitted. But Bai Chen still used the ultimate, covering the body surface with grandeur. In turn, the fists, feet, and limbs formed a layer of spiritual power that was visible to the naked eye and almost reached a substantial level. What's more exaggerated is, boom, Bai Chen just shook his fist. The air around the fist seemed to be crushed by him in an instant. There was a deafening explosion. At the same time, where Bai Chen is, a powerful airflow burst out, directly shattering the ground. How can it be? Spiritual power and Whitehits are actually fused to such an extent. Bai Chen's every move is like releasing Keto. Feel the violent wind blowing on your face. Teacher Whitehits' complexion became increasingly ugly. He couldn't help swallowing. An unbelievable roar in his heart exclaimed. This is not the Whitehits I know. Chapter 19 One Punch Man. Blast everything. Advertise here. This is too exaggerated. It's obvious that Bai Chen didn't do anything deliberately, but just as he was posing, such a terrifying wave of spiritual energy burst out. Compared to him, with the same spiritual power, Teacher Whitehits' aura can really be ignored. Who is the real Whitehits teacher? This moment. Look at the whole body wrapped in a spiritual coat. Just clenching his fist, it directly shattered Bai Chen on the ground. Not only Whitehits' teacher. The other students around were stunned. The facial expression is stiff. Everyone has awakened the deepest fear in their hearts. Feel the fear and awe from the bottom of my heart. Too exaggerated. Horrible. This is only a Reiatsu limited situation. Unimaginable. If Bai Chen goes all out, what kind of terrifying momentum will erupt without any restraints and restrictions? By the time, I'm afraid it's just a fist shake. In this area, all the nearby training grounds will be blown away by his punch. And among the crowd, Abarai Renji, who had been looking forward to watching the show just now, was completely dumbfounded at the moment. His lips trembled, his face was pale. Abarai Renji said tremblingly with a face full of fear. Hira, how do I feel? I can't move my body. Not just stuttering. Abarai Renji's facial expressions, along with his body limbs. Because the wave of anger that Bai Chen erupted was directly suppressed and unable to move. It's not that Bai Chen intends to target him. Just because, where Abarai Renji was standing, the crowd was too close. That's why it will be affected. But, unexpected disaster happened for no reason. Moreover, the right to control the body is almost directly deprived because it is shrouded in the wave of spiritual power. This painful experience and feeling directly scared Abarai Renji to the point of confusion. The eyes looking at Bai Chen were filled with obvious fear and awe. As if looking at a devil. Renji, don't say it's you. Look at the expression of Teacher Whitehits, he is blushing from holding back, obviously he is struggling. Hira Izuru was speechless. I don't know what to say anymore. Seeing Teacher Whitehits struggling, he even felt sorry for him. Obviously today is the first Paradise class. And just finished explaining the basic theoretical knowledge. But when Teacher Whitehits is preparing to demonstrate the high level that a teacher should have through practical exercises. But did not expect. Bai Chen has long been a master of Whitehits. And it is not difficult to hear from the exclamation of Teacher Whitehits. Bai Chen's attainments in Whitehits are even more profound than that of his teacher. It's outrageous. Bai Chen. So amazing. He should know how to measure, and won't hurt Teacher Whitehits, right? The voice is soft and full of wonder. Hinamori Momo is probably the person who is the least afraid and the most secure of all. I don't know if it's a coincidence. Or Bai Chen deliberately controlled. It was also shrouded in spiritual waves, but Hinamori Momo didn't feel unable to move his limbs like other people. Instead, because of being in it, it is more able to observe and feel more intuitively, so as to gain insights. Perhaps, this is the benefit of being a girlfriend. Exclusive benefits that only Hinamori Momo can enjoy. At the same time, the center of the training field with severely damaged ground. Bai Chen clenched his fists, looked at Teacher Whitehits, and asked calmly. Teacher, I shouldn't have violated the rules, right? This sentence. Murder. In an instant, Teacher Whitehits wanted to die. He was the one who called the names and asked to be listed. The rules are also set by the teacher, requiring equal spiritual power. Bai Chen will do everything, fair and just. Therefore, Even if it will, Teacher Whitehits is already suffering from difficulty breathing due to the continuous suppression of the spiritual energy wave. But in front of all the students, he could only bite the bullet, nodded and admitted with an extremely embarrassing expression. No. No problem. Student Bai Chen, you did a great job. You actually perfectly attached spiritual power to your fist. As expected of the Spiritual Arts Academy, the most outstanding genius ever. It's a forced smile. It is also a compliment from the heart. At this moment, Teacher Whitehits has to admit that Bai Chen is an all-around genius. A monster that seems to have no upper limit. If not, it's impossible to do it, just relying on one's mind to perfectly combine spiritual power and white hits. This is something even Captain Shinigami may not be able to do. Then, next, please give me your advice. Bai Chen smiled confidently. Teacher Whitehits is right. Relying on the proficient Grandmaster's control and the weird power skills signed in before. Bai Chen intentionally attached the Reiatsu to the limbs of the body, as well as the surfaces of the fists and feet. Thus, the effect similar to instantaneous opening is achieved. Of course, due to the lack of integration of Kido. After all, the power of the wave of spiritual power wrapped around him was still a little lacking. But that's okay. This level is more than enough to deal with an academy teacher. And next, in order to save face as much as possible, Teacher Whitehits can no longer take care of it. Just now he clearly asked Bai Chen to make the first move. As a result, I don't talk about martial arts. After clenching his fists tightly, his whole body is like a spring, after jumping high from the spot. Swinging his fist, he blasted Bai Chen's face with all his might. As expected of Teacher Whitehits. Such explosive power. Resisting Bai Chen's momentum. The oppression that has been brought on and on. Seeing the swooping figure of Teacher Whitehits, the students couldn't help exclaiming. It was even extremely funny, cheering for him one after another. It's as if the identities of the two on the field were swapped. Bai Chen is a new mentor. And Teacher Whitehits, on the contrary, is the student taught by him. In the face of the teacher's full blow, Bai Chen should put on a defensive posture, right? Abarai Renji speculated. Take the high ground and dive down. The person who initiates the attack often has an extra bonus in terms of momentum. Therefore, although Bai Chen has a coat of spiritual power on his body, but Abarai Renji still believed that he had to parry with all his strength in order to withstand this fierce punch. However, to the surprise of Abarai Renji, not only did Bai Chen not defend himself, but he did the opposite. Teacher, since it's an actual combat exercise, then I don't need to defend, right? Raise your hand. Clenched fist. At the moment Bai Chen spoke, all the spiritual power covering his body contracted strangely in an instant, and concentrated on his fist within a few seconds. Gathering spiritual power, a dazzling light burst out. Bai Chen's fist possesses infinite power. This moment. It's like he's become One Punch Man. Next, as long as you wave your fist, you can blow everything up. Chapter 20 White Hits. Nuclear Fist. Advertise here. Quote. Is it my illusion? How do I feel? Bai Chen is not a newcomer on the first day of class at all. On the contrary, he looks more like he has been fighting for many years and has unusually rich combat experience. Especially when he puts on an offensive posture, it is impossible to find any weaknesses and flaws from Bai Chen's body. During the dive, when he saw Bai Chen concentrate all his spiritual energy on his fist, Teacher Whitehits couldn't help but turn pale, and his eyelids twitched violently. There was an urge to get cold feet in an instant. In fact, Teacher Whitehits' intuition was right. Although Bai Chen did not have any actual combat experience beforehand. However, it relies on the inheritance memory obtained after consecutive sign-ins. He perfectly captures Senju Hashirama's lifetime combat experience. And is the god of ninjas. A man who once relied on his own strength to make the entire ninja world admire him. Without any exaggeration, Senju Hashirama's combat experience. It is even richer and more comprehensive than the current part of the Shinigami captain. That's why, when facing Bai Chen, Teacher Whitehits can't help but put himself in a weak position. Because, at this moment, he panicked. If it wasn't for being a teacher, the ghost would take the initiative to give away the head. But, as his opponent, from the beginning to the end, Bai Chen's expression was calm. I didn't blindly inflate my self-confidence because of Teacher Whitehits' panic. On Jun Lang's face, the corners of his mouth were slightly upturned, but instead he showed a happy smile. Obviously, Bai Chen is very satisfied with the joyful feeling brought by the surging power and immersed himself in it. Of course, 1 yard owned by a yard. In order to give the greatest respect to Teacher Whitehits, Bai Chen didn't intend to release water. Instead go all out. Everyone, step back quickly. Stay away, seeing that the two sides are about to bump fists. In order to avoid being affected by unreasonable encounters like just now. The students who were watching all around retreated desperately. Finally, until you retreat to the corner position, there is no way to retreat. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. And next, under the nervous eyes of Hinamori Momo, Hira Izuru, and Abarai Renji, the figure of Teacher Whitehits landed quickly. His fist entwined with spiritual power was also within Bai Chen's line of sight, and suddenly enlarged at an extremely fast speed. For this, Bai Chen's expression remained unchanged. He just raised his fist indifferently. No shouting, no roaring. Just so ordinary, he blasted hard at the air in front of him. The next moment, boom, it was as loud as a nuclear bomb exploded. Detonate the entire training ground in an instant. No, the entire Spiritual Arts Academy. Next to, in the ear-piercing roar. The students were horrified to see the landing point of Bai Chen's fist bombardment. The power of white hits directly blasted through the air. While causing the ground to collapse, a huge wave of air was set off out of thin air, sweeping the entire training ground in an instant. And the one who bears the brunt of being the victim is naturally the unlucky kendo teacher. Bang! Unable to bear it, the supreme power emanating from Bai Chen's fist. The figure of teacher White Hits was blown away by a violent punch. While flying backwards, his fist, his entire arm, and even the bones all over his body suddenly fell apart at this moment. And because the injury is too painful, teacher White Hits, I haven't even had time to wail. The whole person fell into a faint and passed out completely. Even after flying upside down for hundreds of meters. In the end, like a corpse, it blasted into the ruins of the cracked earth, dying. And not just White Hits' teacher. Even if he has already curled up in a corner. But the classmates still seriously underestimated the power of Bai Chen's White Hits technique. It happened. When everyone reacted, it was too late. In despair, everyone's figures disappeared directly from the spot. It was swept hundreds of meters away by the huge wave of smoke and dust. Finally, one by one fell from the sky. Repeat the mistakes of teacher White Hits, and fall to the ground in embarrassment. Horrible. Bai Chen's punch is even more terrifying than any disaster I have encountered in Rukongai before. If he hadn't limited his spiritual power from the beginning. I'm afraid all of us will lose our lives because of that punch just now. Covered with dust all over. His face became dirty. Abarai Renji fell among the ruins, resisting the pain that his bones were about to fall apart, and said with lingering fear. You can clearly hear it. Abarai Renji's voice was visibly trembling. Obviously, he was completely terrified by the experience just now. Not far away, among the ruins of another ground fissure. Under the messy yellow bangs, Kira Izuru's face is ashen. Looking at the figure of Bai Chen trembling. Where is this White Hits? It's clearly a nuclear-powered fist. Chapter 21 New Mentor. Captain Shinigami. Advertise here. After a long time, that formation was hundreds of meters high. The terrifying cloud of smoke and dust that swept across the entire training ground, and even the entire Spiritual Arts Academy, finally dissipated completely. And during this time, teacher White Hits, who was severely injured and unconscious after being punched by Bai Chen, was rushed to the infirmary. In the end, I was lucky enough to be rescued. Surprisingly, he saved his life. It's just that the broken bones in the whole body need at least 1.5 years of rest to recover completely. Bai Chen, the commotion you made this time is really too big. Not only did it cause panic inside the academy, but it even alarmed Gote 13 again. But don't worry, under the negotiation of the academy leaders, the Shinigami who came to investigate have all returned. As for whether the captain will blame him afterwards, that's not sure. At this time, on the edge of the training field, which looks desolate and full of signs of destruction. The homeroom teacher looked at Bai Chen and said helplessly. It's outrageous. Today is the first class of the new semester. Even the class time is only 1 hour. The class teacher never thought of it anyway. Teacher White Hits, who had been handing over to him just now, almost turned into a vegetable in the blink of an eye. Even more exaggerated, because of Bai Chen's punch just now. The academy has built a training ground for many years, and more than half of the area has suffered serious damage. And the remaining half of the field, although it is still barely usable. But it also became bumpy. Seriously affected the subsequent use effect. And as the culprit, seeing the haggard appearance of the head teacher, Bai Chen helplessly spread his hands. But, obviously it's teacher White Hits, who took the initiative to ask me to come out and accompany him in the actual combat drill as an opponent. And I restrained Reiatsu. According to his request, I limited my strength to the minimum. As for what happened in the end, I'm also very helpless. Bai Chen shrugged and said helplessly. He didn't intend to shirk responsibility, but he thought so from the bottom of his heart. Perhaps in the eyes of outsiders. The punch he threw just now was already earth-shattering. But Bai Chen knew very well in his heart. He only used less than 1/10 of his strength. That is to say, once he goes all out, let go of all bondage and oppression. His White Hits skill, the true power, will be 10 times more terrifying than it is now. So, I am wronged. It's not that I, Bai Chen, are too violent, it's simply that the opponent is too careless. Head teacher. Hearing Bai Chen's explanation, he was completely speechless. I want to say something, but I have nothing to say. Finally, after holding back for a long time, the class teacher shook his head helplessly, sighed faintly and said. Okay, I see. However, because of the teacher, I was almost punched to death by you. So in the next half a month, the teaching of White Hits will be temporarily suspended. At last, tell Bai Chen again and again. After you must always pay attention to controlling your own strength, the class teacher left here with peace of mind. I seem to have heard just now that even the captain was alarmed. I don't know how the old man will react after hearing the news. Thinking of what the class teacher just mentioned. In Bai Chen's mind, he couldn't help but have a new idea. Since Shinigami 4 skills, proficient grandmaster later. Bai Chen believes that there is no need for him to continue attending classes. So, if the commander-in-chief gets the news, after deliberation, if a judgment is made and he is allowed to graduate early, that would be great. But, considering the character of the chief captain, he is stubborn and conservative. Even if you start paying attention to yourself, you will also pass certain assessments in the future before you will be allowed to graduate early. At the same time, as the head teacher said, due to the great commotion, the deeds of Bai Chen not only shocked the entire Gotei 13. At the same time, it also attracted the attention of the captain. In a team, captain, about Bai Chen, what do you think of this genius who has just been admitted to the hospital? Antique. The team room decorated in log style. An old Western man with gray hair, a black Shiba outfit, and a white vest, Chojiro Sparrow. At this moment, he looked forward respectfully and asked. Well, in just a few days, the entire Saraiti was shocked. This Bai Chen is more aggressive than I expected. The old and rickety body sat quietly on the futon. The captain lowered his eyes and spoke slowly in a thick voice. Oh, heard the words. Chojiro raised his eyebrows in surprise. Captain. It seems that you have no intention of blaming him. The old man has already understood the ins and outs of the whole matter. In fact, Bai Chen did not cross any boundaries. The reason why he caused serious damage is simply because his spiritual power is too large. The captain responded calmly. It is undeniable that as an ancient person, the captain's character is indeed very stubborn in many things. Only treat talents, as long as the other party has not committed a serious fault. Under normal circumstances, the captain will be lenient. Not to mention, Bai Chen is only a student at the moment. Haven't joined Gotei 13 yet, although the Spiritual Arts Academy was established by the chief captain thousands of years ago. But, after so many years, his title of dean has long been in name only. Now I will not deliberately interfere in the affairs of the academy. Captain, I also heard that Bai Chen's attainment in white hits seems to be stronger than that of the academy teacher. Perhaps in terms of the other 3 skills, it should be similar. Sparrow Chojiro speculated. Well, I think so too. The captain nodded and said, with his talent, he can easily finish all the basic courses. As a result, the teachers in the academy have nothing to teach. In that case, then send Captain Shinigami to the Spiritual Arts Academy. In a limited time, guide Bai Chen alone so that he can gain more room for improvement. It was beyond Chojiro's expectations. The captain actually made a decision without saying a word. Captain Shinigami. Become Bai Chen's mentor alone. Sparrow Chojiro was taken aback. Unexpectedly, the captain would actually like Bai Chen so much. But think about it. Considering Bai Chen's strength and talent, Chojiro was soon relieved. The captain was right. Indeed, only Captain Shinigami is qualified to be Bai Chen's mentor. So, which Shinigami captain is the right one? Chapter 22 Real Name Liberation. Blade of Thorns. Advertise here. Night. As night fell, the hustle and bustle of the day gradually subsided. At this time, north of Spiritual Arts Academy, first-year freshmen live in the dormitory building. In one of the bedrooms, Bai Chen sat cross-legged on the futon, while laying Zanpakuto flat in front of him. Once again in the Blade Zen pose. Soon, following his thoughts, he completely focused on meditation. The mind is also gradually synchronized with Zanpakuto. After the consciousness gradually blurred, success once again came to the soul space. Quote question mark exclamation mark quote. Something's wrong. This time, the environment inside the soul space is obviously different from before. When Bai Chen opened his eyes, although the first thing I saw was the blue sky, white clouds, and the valley of the end with the Sudian waterfall in the distance. However, unlike last time, the road to the valley of the end is no longer easy. Instead, it became rugged and full of sharp thorns and thorns everywhere. And the giant tree towering into the sky. Obviously, all of these appeared to stop Bai Chen from moving forward. Knew it. Acquiring power is one thing. To harness that power, you must first gain Zanpakuto's approval. Surprise flashed in his eyes. Bai Chen was not surprised, but had a certain degree of mental preparation. After all, geniuses such as Byakuya Kuchiki, Hitsugaya Toshiro, etc. have spent decades developing and comprehending step by step. Finally achieved the peak height of the Millennium Bloody War period. Therefore, as a newcomer who has just obtained the sealed state, it has been less than 3 days. Bai Chen is totally acceptable, Zanpakuto's test for him. It seems, if you want to reach the Valley of the End, again and see those 2 statues, you must forcefully cross these obstacles. Just when Bai Chen thought so, suddenly, without warning, in the vast and boundless forest, there was a loud noise suddenly. Immediately following the ground beneath the feet. Then it vibrated violently at a frequency that ordinary people can't bear. See this. Bai Chen didn't stare blankly either. Instead, with a thought, release Reiatsu with all your strength. Boom. Reiatsu that radiates green light. Suddenly, it erupted from Bai Chen's body, and immediately set off a huge wave of smoke and dust. Then, relying on the ultimate control of spiritual power, Bai Chen wrapped all the substantial spiritual power around his body, forming an effect similar to chakra mode. Immediately after, step down hard. In an instant, the audience was suppressed, and the high-frequency vibration of the ground was stopped. But, before he could breathe a sigh of relief, in the land in front of me, all the soil is constantly moving. At the same time, those huge trees are constantly gathering together. Finally, in Bai Chen's shocking eyes, a huge wooden dragon broke through the ground ferociously and formed a huge wooden dragon. This is one of Senju Hashirama's best wood-style ninjutsu. Due to chakra pass to the giant wood seed, the huge dragon produced. He looked up and stared into the air. From the huge wooden dragon's body, Bai Chen felt an obvious sense of oppression, which also contained obvious hostility. Obviously, the huge wooden dragon, after being conceived, will attack immediately. Really, when this thought flashes past, roar. The wooden dragon roared. There was a deafening roar. The huge body twisted and circled, roaring and rushed towards Bai Chen. And in the process of the wooden dragon flying, the powerful essence of life it carried also caused the land along the way to continuously grow dense trees. And continue to absorb the nutrients and energy in the soil. It seems, once you are entangled by this wooden dragon, the spiritual power in your body will be continuously absorbed by it. It will eventually lead to exhaustion of spiritual power and be forced to withdraw from the soul space. I think that's its real purpose. Despite the chaos in front of me, the figure of the huge wooden dragon is also continuously enlarged in the sight. But Bai Chen wasn't flustered at all. Instead, stand still, calmly recall and analyze. Finally, just go all out to release Reiatsu. Containing a vast breath of life, the almost endless Zeon Reiatsu surged out of Bai Chen's body. Just for a moment, then a lifelike dragon-shaped Reiatsu with the same huge body and dazzling green light was formed. It is undeniable, as the source of life, the foundation and pillar of the earth. The power of Zanpakuto, the wood element, is indeed too powerful to control. But don't forget, I am the master of the soul space. Bai Chen's eyes are full of confidence, fearless. And with his state fully opened, countless dragon-shaped Reiatsu also rushed forward with Bai Chen's thoughts. Finally, all of them hit the wooden dragon hard. It actually made it fall from midair abruptly. Boom. After a loud bang, the huge wooden dragon fell to the ground, crushing a large area of trees. It also cracked the earth into a bottomless pitch-black ravine. But, in the case of continuous suppression by Bai Chen Reiatsu, it did not resist in the follow-up, but fell to the ground. Staring at Bai Chen with green eyes. The previous hostility has gradually dissipated. Does this mean that it has completely surrendered? From the eyes of the wooden dragon, after he could no longer feel any hostility, Bai Chen walked forward with confidence. And when he approached the wooden dragon, unexpected changes happened suddenly again. Shut up. The huge wooden dragon slowly closed its eyes. And its huge body gradually degenerated into green spirit particles, which poured into Bai Chen's body continuously. And this moment, what Bai Chen has been pursuing before, wants to further integrate with Zanpakuto. Finally at this moment got his wish. It seems. I seem to have obtained the approval of this wooden Zanpakuto. Bai Chen's eyes were full of anticipation. At the same time, there was a loud voice in his mind. The tree that soars to the sky. The earth that shakes the earth. The wild wind of nature. The forest that moves the clouds. Let's release the power of nature. Wooden dragon. This moment, liberation of Zanpakuto. On this piece of green land full of vitality, a huge sound resounded. At the same time, the moment when the last ray of green spirit submerged into Bai Chen's body completely. In his hand, Reiatsu condensed and turned into a blade of thorns, extremely sharp. This also means, with the awakening of Zanpakuto, Bai Chen is finally in full control, and can really cast the wood-style secret technique. Chapter 23 Shiba's One Heart. Matsumoto Rangaku. Advertise here. Call. Good luck. I didn't encounter too much trouble. Zanpakuto finally awakened. With the last ray of spirits gone, the chaotic land in front of me has also returned to calm and become full of vitality. Wooden dragon. This is the name of my Zanpakuto. Looking down at the thorn blade in his hand, Bai Chen showed a satisfied smile. Through the surface of the blade, those flashing green rays of light. Bai Chen felt an incomparably powerful energy from it. Obviously, this includes the power of the wood-style mystery. At the same time, it is also the ultimate sage body, and the infinite spiritual power brought by it is realized. From now on, there will be no restrictions. Finally, you can cast wood-style secrets as you like. With anticipation, Bai Chen tried injecting Reiatsu into Zanpakuto. Then, the birth of the tree realm. With a soft drink. I didn't see Bai Chen making any moves either. His spiritual power turned into the source of life, causing the earth to tremble. Immediately afterwards, among the cracks in the ground, a large number of huge trees transformed from substantial Reiatsu grow wildly at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths, a forest was created out of thin air. Block out the sun. Good. Even with such a large area, I can still control every tree in the forest. Even every branch in it. Bai Chen was pleasantly surprised to find that he can control everything freely without any effort. You can use trees for defense. It can also control all the vines and spikes, and bombard the enemy in a super wide range, resulting in an attack without dead ends. Besides, coil, bind, and absorb spiritual power. Naturally, it is also a matter of course. It's just one of the skills of Zanpakuto of the wood system. So omnipotent and incomprehensible. Not to mention, there are also various other wood-style secrets. To be honest, as long as Bai Chen's imagination is rich enough, and under the blessing of the infinite spiritual power of the ultimate sage body. Offense, defense, assistance, restraint, suppression, etc. There is no limit to this wooden Zanpakuto. It is simply the omniscient and omnipotent of the Zanpakuto world. Subsequently, take advantage of your energy. Mental strength is not tired yet. In addition to the birth of the tree world, Bai Chen followed up with a series of skills. Wood clone, wood bondage, chaos in hell, and summon a huge wooden dragon, etc. Bai Chen is very satisfied with the effect of every trick. The proficiency is also inadvertently constantly improving. At last, wait until your energy burns out. When consciousness is about to exit the soul space. Bai Chen didn't forget to have some bad fun, and give full play to Mr. Yamato's craftsman spirit. Using the four-pillar house technique, a large villa was built out of thin air. Vigorously over a real estate agent's addiction. Not to mention how cool it was. The next day. The sun is shining. Early in the morning, after washing. Bai Chen put on his school uniform, brought the awakened Zanpakuto, and came to the teaching building early in the morning. Only, the moment he walked into the classroom. In addition to the head teacher and familiar classmates, I also saw two other strange figures. They are Shiba One Heart, Matsumoto Rangaku. What's the situation? The two captains of the 10th Division, why did they suddenly come to Spiritual Arts Academy? Into the classroom, after looking at the two figures in the deadly costumes on the podium, and recognizing their identities. Bai Chen couldn't help feeling very surprised. Yes. At this time, at the end of Bai Chen's line of sight. Above the podium, one left and one right, two figures stood side by side. The one on the left is tall and tall, in addition to the deadly costume, he is also wrapped in white Captain Howry. And the one on the right has a hot figure. Under the long orange wavy hair, the huge headlights are extremely eye-catching. And the mole on the lip exudes a full femininity. These two Shinigami captains who suddenly appeared are also characters familiar to Bai Chen. Shiba with one heart, and his lieutenant, Matsumoto Rangaku. At the same time, just when Bai Chen was still immersed in shock. It's not time to slow down yet. Shiba Yixin and Matsumoto Rangaku sensed his breath at the same time. Hi, fortunately, I didn't wait too long. I finally saw a real person. The strongest genius in the legend. Bai Chen, hello. Stand above the podium. Shiba turned his head wholeheartedly, looked at Bai Chen, and greeted Bai Chen proactively. And beside him, Matsumoto Rangaku also smiled and nodded to Bai Chen. The two of them are actually coming towards me. Bai Chen was stunned. He clearly remembers. Unless you pass the assessment, you will be eligible for graduation. Otherwise, according to the regulations, even Captain Shinigami can't go directly to the academy to recruit players, right? So, how to explain? What about the sudden appearance of the two Shinigami captains? It seems to have seen Bai Chen's doubts. Shiba stretched his waist wholeheartedly, and in front of all the students, he announced loudly with a playful smile. Student Bai Chen, there is no need to be confused. We didn't show up without authorization. We got the old man's order and came here openly. Speaking of which, Shiba's smile deepened with all his heart, and he deliberately increased the decibel to raise the volume. Starting today, you don't need to stay in class 1 to study. Instead, following the two of us to conduct subterranean training alone. Shiba focused on these words. Instantly detonated the classroom atmosphere, causing a sensation. Chapter 24 New Check-in. Dark Row Technique. Advertise here. What? Did you hear me right? Just now, Captain Shiba said. They came here because of the order of the captain. Bai Chen is too valued. Because the classroom is not big. Plus Shiba has a natural high voice. So what he just said, every word and syllable. They were all like blockbuster bombs, deeply blasting into the minds of my classmates. Immediately detonated the atmosphere of the classroom, causing a sensation among all the staff. Bai Chen, you are so lucky, right? To be able to directly get the appreciation of the captain. That's the rumor, the strongest Shinigami in the millennium. Now, Abarai Renji at the back of the classroom. Shocked expressions were written all over his face, and his mood became extremely complicated in an instant. Original, let alone Captain Shinigami. Usually walking in the aisle, he could not help but stand in awe whenever he met the senior leaders of the academy. Not to mention the strength and status, far above the high level of the academy, and even Captain Shinigami who was admired by all souls. In the eyes of Abarai Renji, Captain Shinigami is the reason why he participated in the fall enrollment and the goal he wants to fight for all his life. Now, without any prior notice, suddenly meet two live Shinigami captains. Abarai Renji didn't even have time to get excited. Immediately afterwards, I heard what Shiba Yixin announced just now. Moment. The whole person was completely dumbfounded. As a result, the brain becomes blank. Captain Shinigami. Teach alone. Although I don't want to admit it, but I really envy Bai Chen. Abarai Renji was slumped, sighing in disappointment and melancholy. Even now, Shiba's single-minded voice has gradually dissipated in the air. But Abarai Renji is still unacceptable. Captain Shinigami who almost stopped breathing because of too much pressure just by staring at him. Actually, I came here for Bai Chen alone. And in front of everyone, he announced loudly that he would teach Bai Chen alone. Such a thing, even seeing it with his own eyes, Abarai Renji still finds it unbelievable. Not far away, compared to Abarai Renji, the expression of my best friend Kira Izuru, apart from shock and envy, also had a helpless wry smile on her face. Good guy, obviously, he just blown up the entire training ground with one punch yesterday, and even the teacher almost became a vegetative because of it. I didn't expect. Bai Chen was not punished in any way. Instead, he was appreciated by the captain. Thinking of this, Kira Izuru was instantly numb. I wipe. Bai Chen, he couldn't be the illegitimate son of the captain, right? Although I know that this idea is outrageous. If you don't think so, Kira Izuru really can't explain why Bai Chen is treated so well. Sign up on the same day. Enroll on the same day. Obviously everyone is still immersed in the joy of being a freshman, just getting ready for class. But Bai Chen is fine. Accidentally injured teacher white hits, resulting in a temporary shortage. Not a big problem. Then let Captain Shinigami be your mentor. Worried that there is only one Shinigami captain, and the teaching may not be detailed enough. Then the two take turns to fight together. Make sure that Bai Chen can complete all the course content required for graduation in the shortest possible time. Thinking of this, Kira Izuru is completely speechless. I'm afraid even the sons of the four nobles are not necessarily entitled to this kind of transcendent treatment, right? Bai Chen. It's even better than the four nobles. Besides Kira Izuru and Abarai Renji, Hinamori Momo's emotions are even more complicated. Ah, teaching alone. Doesn't this mean that you will be separated from Bai Chen soon? Thinking of this from now on, I can no longer be by Bai Chen's side every day. Hinamori Momo's clear and bright eyes instantly became dull. Emotions are also lost to the lowest point. Although we didn't know each other for a long time. But during this time, with Bai Chen's company, Hinamori Momo is happy every day. And in the process of getting along, Hinamori Momo has even gradually become dependent on Bai Chen. But just as she has already done well, the relationship with Bai Chen in the future will take a step forward. But I didn't expect it. Suddenly there was an accident. Well, Hinamori Momo sighed full of sorrow. Although I am very sad, I also want to understand the gap between myself and Bai Chen. It has long been doomed that there will be a day of separation. After all, with Bai Chen's talent, it is impossible for him to follow the steps and not graduate until the 6-year term expires. He will definitely graduate early like other geniuses in the past. Therefore, parting is sooner or later. Hinamori Momo just didn't expect this moment to come so soon. At the same time, just when the students were still immersed in shock, Bai Chen also chatted with the two Shinigami captains on stage. Captain Shiba, Captain Matsumoto, you mean, not only limited to the Spiritual Arts Academy, I can also choose a place in other places in Seraiti as a daily training location. Bai Chen looked at the two of them and asked seriously. That's right. Smiling and nodding, Matsumoto Rangaku replied noncommittally. As the captain of the Juban team, because of our status and team affairs, it is impossible for the two of us to stay in the academy for a long time. Of course, except for some places where it is expressly forbidden to step in. Matsumoto Rangaku then added, understood. Bai Chen nodded thoughtfully. If this is the case, it is the most suitable place for cultivation. Probably only the suburbs of Seraiti. But, just when Bai Chen was thinking to himself. Suddenly, in his mind, the system prompt sounded suddenly. Ding. New check-in task released. No time limit. Please go to the vicinity of Shuangji Hill in the suburb of Seraiti, and check in. After the sign-in is completed, special rewards will be obtained. Illusion, Dark Walk Technique, enhanced and improved version. It was beyond Bai Chen's expectation. This time, the place where I signed up for the mission was actually near the hill of Shuangju. The most important is, the sign-in reward is a dark technique listed as a forbidden technique in the ninja world. And it is still a system-enhanced, improved power-enhanced version. Thinking of this, even Bai Chen felt a little surprised just now. At this moment, I can't wait to leave immediately with the two captains. I seem to remember the exact location of the Hill of Two Desires, which happens to be near the suburb of Seraiti. Thinking of this, Bai Chen's eyes became hot. Without any hesitation, he looked at Shiba Isen and Matsumoto Rangaku, and then gave an affirmative answer. Why don't you go to the Hill of Two Desires? There is a large suburb nearby, remote and quiet. It's a perfect place to conduct sneak training there. Finished speaking. The corners of Bai Chen's mouth raised slightly. He can't wait to master the first illusion. Chapter 25 Illusion, Suzumushi Bankai. Advertise here. Soon after. Suburbs of Seraiti. It is located on the north side of the Shuangji Hill, which is directly below the Shuangji torture tool. Huh, Captain. When did you find out? There is actually a secret base hidden here. Among the dense forest, Matsumoto Rangaku's voice was full of surprise. Just now, after negotiating with the head teacher. Under the envious eyes of the whole class, Bai Chen followed Shiba Yixin and Matsumoto Rangaku out of the academy. Trek all the way to get here. But just at the foot of the mountain, Matsumoto Rangaku couldn't help frowning. Because it's too desolate here. Looking around, there are only dense forests around, and there is not even a place to rest halfway. Honestly, if it wasn't for Bai Chen's request, Matsumoto Rangaku would prefer to choose other places with a better environment. But, dissatisfaction with Matsumoto Rangaku, Shiba Yixin just smiled and didn't say much. Immediately afterwards, he became a tour guide leading the way. Bring Bai Chen and Matsumoto Rangaku to this place. Hey, Rangaku, otherwise do you think, why you can't find me every time when I'm slacking off? With a flaunting tone, Shiba straightened his chest wholeheartedly, and explained triumphantly. Hearing these words, even Bai Chen was very surprised. Because, he recognized the hidden training base in front of him at a glance. It was in the plot of the original book, about nearly hundreds of years ago. Before Urahara Kazuki and Shihuin Yoruichi defected to the Soul Society, the training base was specially built here. I didn't expect. This hidden stronghold was actually found by Shiba with all his heart. But after thinking about it for a while, Bai Chen quickly figured it out. Probably because of Shiba Kong. Because, in terms of seniority, as the head of Shiba Branch House, Shiba Yixin is the uncle of the three brothers and sisters Kaien, Kuzuru and Ganju. And Shiba Kong is Shihuin Yoruichi's best friend again. So through her, Shiba accidentally inquired about this secret base while chatting with his niece. In fact, it is also very normal. But, Bai Chen didn't pay much attention to it. Instead, put away redundant thoughts and refocus on the sign-in task. Ding. The host has been detected and has arrived at the check-in location. Do you want to check in? After hearing the beep, Bai Chen was full of anticipation. So far, he has successfully signed up for Ultimate Sage Body, Monster Power, Muji Healing, Wood Zanpakuto, and 4 Skills Grandmaster, etc. Whether it's Reiatsu, Zanpakuto, or fighting skills, it's almost full. Only, illusion. That is, in terms of mental strength. It's still blank. This is also the only weakness of Bai Chen. Therefore, for the system improved and powerful version of the Dark Line technique, Bai Chen will be even more full of anticipation in his heart. After all, this is the first illusion skill he has mastered. And next, the system beep sounds again. Ding. The next step is to officially start signing in. The sign-in time is 5 seconds, and if you quit halfway, it will be considered a failure. Quickly, the 5-second countdown ends. Bai Chen also got his wish and received the sign-in reward. Ding. Congratulations to host, the sign-in is successful. Sign-in reward. Dark walk technique blocking the 5 senses. This moment, the moment when the system beep ends. In Bai Chen's mind, memories related to the darkness technique emerged clearly. Only, to Bai Chen's surprise, after the system improvement, the dark technique is actually so strong. It's actually blocking the 5 senses. Isn't this the Bankai equivalent of Zanpakuto Suzumushi? This is too fierce. After watching the skill introduction, Bai Chen felt ecstasy in his heart. In his impression, one of the forbidden techniques that few talents have. The original darkness technique can create a dark environment after being used, blocking the opponent's vision and depriving all light. But now, after the improvement and strengthening of the system, the dark technique that Bai Chen has mastered is not just as simple as affecting vision. But, it can directly block the 5 senses. This is even more pervert than Suzumushi's Bankai. After all, to crack Suzumushi's Bankai, all you need to do is grab the blade and instantly restore your 5 senses. But, want to crack the dark row technique? The only way is to prevent Bai Chen from casting spells. Only then will it be possible to break free from the endless darkness. Can face Bai Chen's super powerful combat power today. This possibility is undoubtedly as difficult as reaching the sky. Too awesome. I didn't expect to sign in this time, and I actually mastered a skill comparable to Bankai. If there is a chance in the future, I must use the dark technique in front of the blind Tusen Konami. At the same time, it created a dark area. Also leave your opponent in the dark. But Yan Mo Cricket is Zanpakuto Suzumushi's Bankai. It is one of Tusen Konami's strongest hole cards. However, put it on Bai Chen's side. Darkness technique is just an ordinary skill among his many methods. It can be seen that Bai Chen's current combat power. How strong is it?